Okay, before we start today, I need to do something. Just
Go
a few
on.
just a few days ago, myself and many other people lost someone very dear to them. So I would like to offer a prayer. Romani Arkman, you were never in the spotlight, never main character. But you're always in the background, cheering us on and brightening something with a stupid joke or a little comment. But you were there, and it was Taldea is gonna be a little less bright now that your smile isn't there. Gonna miss you. So, Godspeed, Roman. And if you ever come back, well, I'll be there to greet you.
I shall collect all the Magimari merch in his absence.
You do that. I'll make sure none of his files get lost.
I need to go check something because I think something just tipped over.
So while Draven's doing that, to explain, oh, what the, in Vagrant Order, this is massive spoilers by the way. Solomon Time Temple. What?
I don't know how to put what just fucking happened.
What?
The ceiling in my closet just fell.
Okay then.
I'm gonna stay, but I think I need to make a phone call.
Yeah.
Real quick.
So, anyway, in Solomon Time Temple, we fought Goetia, who was using Solomon's corpse. However, as he was so technically in Solomon's corpse, he could revive infinitely from the throne of heroes, where all servants come from. However, Roman appeared in the Time Temple, a normal old human, and when he took off his glove, he revealed the 10th ring of Solomon, which Goethe only had 9. And he reverted to his true form of Solomon. It turns out in the 5th Grail War, he and Olga's father, Marisbili, had won, and his wish was to become human. However, before he became fully human, his clairvoyance showed the end of the world, and ever since then, for 10 years, Roman had worked to make that not happen. And then, after speaking with Goetia, he revealed the true form of Ars Nova, his first symbol Phantasm, which according to Goetia, would not only erase him from history, it would erase him from the throne of heroes. So, Roman sacrificed his very existence so we could win. And the whole community is reeling right now, and I watched quite a few videos on him last night, and I am not gonna lie, I cried a lot and really hard. It's gonna be weird, but now it's gonna be weird not seeing Rowan.
And then, but with it, we make way for a new sidekick. Kind of. Really, it's kind of weird that Epic of Remnant gives us like. There's a weird thing. Epic of Remnant gives us like side characters that try to act sort of as guides. It's similar to Roman, but
doesn't really work.
You know, all of that end up just getting. All of that usually ends up going up in smoke.
Remind me who the guides are. Shinjuku is Moriarty, correct?
Yeah, Shinjuku is Moriarty, which we know how that goes.
Moriarty, the king of the criminal. you know...
The criminal mastermind, the Napoleon of crime, the guy who literally orchestrated probably one of the most brilliant ideas on how to fucking murder someone and the entire fucking world.
Yeah. Agartha.
World. Columbus. Dude literally is like he starts up like warming up to you, like he starts off as just being a revolutionary pirate guy.
But he's Columbus.
Guy that helps you.
He's Columbus.
Yeah, you don't know that yet, and once you do find out, it's like, okay, he's still somewhat of a cool guy, I guess.
But he's also fucking evil.
Yeah, like once you find out his name, it's like, oh hey, that's his name. Cool. But then you beat Penth, and then you find out, oh god, someone put way too much detail in his art.
Yeah. Let's see, Shimosa.
Shimosa doesn't have anyone like that, but the problem is that the person who is technically your guide, that being fucking Musashi, kind of gets fucked over a lot. And also dies. Yeah.
So,
nice.
You know, it's also a fucking liability in the boss battles. Because in Shimosa you can only use her.
Not only use her, at least not for boss fights.
Oh, well, anyway. And then in Salem
regular enemies are fine.
And then in Salem we
boss
have...
fights, fuck you.
In Salem we have Abigail.
Who gets completely fucked over.
We don't need to talk about that.
Look, we don't
Salem talk about...
is fucked up. Let's just say that.
I mean, it's the witch trials.
Yeah, the kind of time in history where paranoia was at its highest. I've read
the play for it. It's I see where it all came from.
I still do not understand that. I still am concerned about Abigail's Bonsi. That last quote is disturbingly vague.
Let's just move on.
And then we're at Lost Belt, where we gain a new sidekick, only for one of our other guides to just die.
Stop, please.
Kind of.
Stop. Don't need to remind me.
I will never stop.
Stop.
I will never stop. Sadness is my fuel.
If we don't stop, I can't start the stream.
Fair enough.
Also, before I got all teary-eyed last night, I did have a plan for what we were going to talk about today.
And that plan was?
Well, one second, let me blow my nose. Well, yes, I'll be playing God Eater. Today, I wanted to chat about one of the most beloved strategy RPGs known to man, that has gone through ups and downs, nearly burned, but what came out of the ashes stronger, sort of. Who changed their own fate and tipped the scales. That's right, it's time to talk about Fire Emblem.
You know, for a second there, I thought you were about to pull a curveball on me.
What did you expect?
I mean, I was expecting you to pull a curveball on me, just like you have a secret strategy RPG up your sleeve.
Hell no. I fully admit, I am not the best gamer. In fact, I suck at a lot of games.
I mean, neither am I, but like... But, you know, you'd probably be okay at some other strategy games. Definitely be better at micromanaging than I am XCOM. I suck at micromanaging.
I mean, I do play Etrian Odyssey, so that might count.
I mean, micromanaging, I'm good at, but the problem is I either get overly confident with my micromanaging. Either get overconfident. It's either overconfidence or something else.
Okay, anyway.
Else that happens.
So, since we have a lot to talk about Fire Emblem, because both of us have played a good bit, let's start with the games we've played and beaten. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
So, I'll start. In the order of when they were released, I have played Fire Emblem 6, The Binding Blade, Fire Emblem 7, Recognize Ken, also known as Fire Emblem because it was the first Fire Emblem game released in the West, or Fire Emblem Blazing Sword, Fire Emblem 8, Sacred Stones, Fire Emblem 13, Awakening, Fire Emblem 14, Fates, all 3 paths, ow. Fire Emblem 15, Echo Shadows of Valentia, and if you want to count it, Heroes. So for the game,
Heroes is just more a spin-off title.
So that's Fire Emblem more gacha game where you have a chance of getting all the units you want to play with and mess about whenever you can. So, games I've beaten. Gonna admit, not a lot. It's only Awakening, all 3 Fates Pass. Thank fuck, because Revelations suck sometimes. And Echoes. Now, here's the thing. I have nearly beaten Blazing Sword and Sacred Stones. On Blazing Sword, I was in second to last fight chapter, and well, then my phone had to be reset, and I lost all my progress. I'm currently just going through Lynn's story again. Same with Sacred Stones. I think I was on the second to last or third to last chapter in Sacred Stones, and then it got all reset. So mildly annoyed at that. So although I know what happens, so I think I could actually have beaten them. And Binding Blade, I've only gotten through the second chapter, but I know what happens, so yeah. Also, to my great sadness, because I am a poor boy, and because it's fucking hard to emulate them, I have not played either of the Tellius games. To my great sadness, because I like some of the characters and how the gameplay works. Have seen...
Which one are the Tellius games again?
Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. They're named after
after
where they take place. And
I played one of those.
I'm gonna note, I have read full LPs of both, and I've seen both of Ollie's Andrews LPs of them. They're pretty long and actually fairly good, even if he doesn't know what he's doing at the time. So what games have you played and beaten, Draven?
I've beaten Awakening multiple times, though
50.
But then I played Fates. I really only beat it a few times because it was like, eh. I at least made it my goal to actually at least beat one of the games on a higher difficulty, because I usually just played it casually for a bit so I could have fun with it. Then I decided to just play Conquest and make my ass trying. That went well. The second thing I did, as my brain dies for a second, the second game I played, you know what? I've played the Ike game, the first one.
Path of Radiance.
Yeah, so I played Path of Radiance, but I never beat it.
How far did you get?
It's the same with Blazing Sword.
How far did you get in both?
I think I got past like the first stage, and that was it.
In
That's
Path
all
of
I
Radiance?
remember. Yeah, I haven't beaten Path of Radiance.
How far did
I know what happens.
How far did you get in that one again?
And I do have my characters that I love from it.
Like we have. So did you not even get past the Black Knight's appearance in Path of Radiance?
Nope.
Wow. Okay. And Blazing Sword, how far in that?
I do at least know the plot and the general characters, and I can still say, no matter what, Mia is cool.
Yeah, Mia is, in my opinion, one of the better Myrmidons in the series. Because even after the horrible thing that happened with Radiant Dawn, where the characters had no personality and there were no support conversations. Her one character thing was challenging Ike to battle, and even though it was kind of bland, it was done well because it fits how Mia is in game. Because you know, True Blade.
And they still.
And
they did add to it.
And I'm gonna fully I'm gonna fully admit, even though she's from Radiant Dawn, Micaiah is one of my favorite Fire Emblem waifus, if you can call it that. Because I love her design, okay? And I like mages. If a character is a mage, there's a high chance I'm gonna like them. It's just how I just prefer, like in Fire Emblem, there are 3 classes I prefer over all else. Mage classes, mercenaries, and wyvern riders. Like, I just do. So,
I mean, it's kind of different with me because I have this weird liking towards the, for some reason, I seemingly like the horseback knights. I've liked all of them. There hasn't been one I haven't liked.
Ah! Ow. I just got sleeping clawed by a Yaksaraja. Seems like I'm hard to kill. Okay, so what should we talk about first in Fire Emblem? Story, characters, gameplay?
I can talk. Well, we can talk where our first experiences with Fire Emblem happened. I can actually tell you, my first experience with Fire Emblem, weirdly enough, was when my uncle was playing Path of Radiance.
Interesting.
He was surprisingly very strategic with it.
Okay.
He had his own powerful units, and I have to say, nothing was ever more interesting than watching him play the final level.
Yeah, that final level was pretty good. For me, I don't quite remember my first experience with it, but I think what it was at the time I was really bored of games. I was looking for something to do. So on Christmas, I got 3 different games. I got Luigi Mansion Dark Moon, which I still haven't beaten. I'm sorry. I still haven't beaten that damn game. I'm stuck in the final level. I also got Animal Crossing New Leaf, which is now unfortunately with my ex. Yay. And Fire Emblem Awakening, which was actually the only game that wasn't in a cartridge and was in one of those little cases. I started playing it after fucking up in Dark Moon a lot, and I fell in love with it. Like, my very first fight was Robin versus a random bandit, and he got a crit. And I was like, my god, what are these characters? They're so cool looking.
Did you... I have the question. What was the first critical quote Robin said?
Time to tip the scales.
Alright, that is really the best way to get you. That is really the best way to show you what this game is like. Just first crit of the game, time to tip the scales.
No, first attack of the game.
First attack of the game. And the first crit, and what you hear is time to tip the scales. That is good.
I fell in love with the series, and after I beat Awakening, I found an emulator and started playing through Sacred Stones and Blazing Sword. It took a while. And I fucking love these characters, and the fact that it was a lot harder because there was no casual mode made it all the more interesting to me. later on, I found out about who Marth, Roy, and Ike were by playing Smash Bros. Brawl, which I unfortunately lost my Wiimote, so I can't play that anymore. Or Sonic Unleashed or Poke Park. Like, I still have Poke Park 2, Sonic Unleashed, Super Mario Galaxy 2, and Sonic Colors along with Brawl, all here above my PS4 titles. What things up? And I'm not gonna lie, it was just fun playing through those titles. It still is. And then I spent on the release day of Fates. I waited outside of the GameStop in Silverdale, near where I live, until not Silverdale. Where did I get that name from? Fuck. I can't remember now.
Weird.
But I waited out there until midnight when the game's released and got both Conquest and Birthright in cartridge form. And then with Echoes, well, let's just say I saved my money. And I just started playing Heroes 2 weeks ago, so yeah. Oh, good. And yeah, so Fire Emblem is kind of a guilty pleasure for me. Like, here's the thing. Even the really bad games like Fate, used to how people think about it, it's sort of a guilty pleasure. Especially Conquest.
Yeah,
well, because here's the thing. Because I know this is gonna make the fan base scream in anger, so Draven, be warned. I mean,
to be fair...
let me finish. I think Conquest's story is the best. Also, by the way,
honestly, I honestly don't blame you for that, because Birthright is boring. Like, it's not bad, it's just really boring, and that's an ultimate sin in of itself.
Birthright is the most straight-laced good versus evil plot I've ever seen, and the only time it was fun was when I was fighting Leo, Camilla, or Xander. And
yeah,
even the final boss was shit. It looked like shit too.
I mean, I give credit to the dragon. It looked weird.
It looked horrible. I didn't like it. And Revelations. It had a lot going for it, but once you got to Vala, everything just kind of fell apart. Like, what was your plan for the story? And what the hell was with the cheapness? Because while Revelations has some of the best level design I've seen from Fire Emblem ever, it's done in a way that makes it tedious as fuck. Yes, I know I'm swearing a lot. Like, it's so tedious. Just think about it.
I mean, Revelations was literally what I like to call throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. Yeah, the problem is that they throw way too much at the wall, and now the wall is covered with a plethora of objects. Yeah, here's the thing. Most of the unique levels, I think my favorite one was the ice one because of how it worked and the fact that you were essentially searching for buried treasure. Because, full of goodies. I also kind of like Sumeragi's level. Kind of. I say kind of because on my first time through, I kept dying a lot. On my second time through, I had a much better team at that point. So I laid into them and only lost one unit. And that's because Xander has subpar resistance. Don't get me wrong, he's a good tank, but there are very few magic tanks in Fates. Yeah. And then
did like the end game. That's only because we fought. That's only because of how it looked, how it actually played.
Not the greatest.
Like you're fighting two arms that can knock out most of that. Essentially, here's the thing: Charlotte had like 60 health. She went down to 4 from max to 4 because I think the formula used both magic and strength or something. Something happened.
It'd be a weird one. It'd be a weird one, boss.
And the head had the first form, which was annoying. And then it had a second form, which was essentially just an orb, which was dumb. Like, it was so dumb. You don't do that, game. You don't make the final boss dumb looking. And Conquest.
I mean, to be fair, that didn't really stop them.
Yeah,
Stop them. I mean, remember, there was. I mean, we had a dumb dragon-looking thing for Birthright, and then we had surprisingly, actually, weirdly, disturbingly cool goo monster Garen.
And
here's
the thing: while Conquest's story, that
wasn't even the final boss.
Yeah, while Corrin in Conquest they do some damn dumb things. They at least seem to be a person.
Yeah. Okay.
Because, let's face it, in the other routes, they had, like, no character. Just think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Their character was really not that good.
Yeah, just a little bit.
In Conquest, they seemed like a person. Even if they did destroy both kingdoms. And hey, well, the final boss, spoilers by the way, Talk Me, was cheap as fuck because that AoE attack like every 4 or so turns. It at least was good, and it kept me on my toes. Because Birthright's boss was like, you could beat it on the first fucking turn. If you had your units placed right, you could beat it on the first turn. All those reinforcements were didn't even come into play for me. And as for Revelations boss, it was not hard because it was a good boss. It was hard because it was a cheap boss. Its damage output was kind of stupid. Ah, fuck.
Yeah, kind of was.
It like making it be super strong and be really hard to kill does not mean it's a good boss. It means that you're being cheap. Because I'm gonna agree with Blazing Knight on this. He's the guy who does farm stuff and Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I know the guy.
Awakening and Fates do not have good bosses. They do not have good bosses. And a lot of them, except for the siblings and characters like, say, Valadar or Grangle, they're forgettable as hell.
They don't commit like any immortal sins in boss fights.
No, but they almost do because they make the bosses. They make about 8% of the bosses in those games forgettable.
Yeah.
Seriously, Some of the bosses in Awakening in Fates were faceless. You know the mook things that aren't supposed to have that have no character and are just there as a plot device, essentially.
Yeah.
Because honestly, they are a plot device. Ow. So yeah. I'm not like, well, I love those games. They do some bad things, but still, Takumi was a good fight, especially since, you know, while he's a sniper, he doesn't have the weakness that all arcs except for Echoes have. They can't attack from melee range.
Let me talk to you about that.
Okay, which game?
Close counter.
Okay, I don't know what game that's from.
Oh, no. You see, this is a thing that's been with Takumi for a bit.
Oh,
at least...
right, the skill.
Yeah, that thing.
I thought I didn't have to talk about the skill. That's why I didn't bring it up.
that still gets a fun... That still gets a fun thing sometimes, because it's just...
I mean, well, yes, he is still a sniper. He does have a... the reason why... Still... If they had kept the thing where he still can't attack from melee range, I would have lost all hope in this series. For final bosses, at least in Fates. Because, I mean, let's be honest. So... Like, there's something about... Okay, going off of some of the problems with Fates, let's move on to the gameplay, shall we?
Oh boy.
So, what is Fire Emblem?
Basically praying every day that the people and things you have loved and cared for since the beginning do not die.
To explain, Fire Emblem is a strategy. The strategy is a turn-based strategy RPG where the settings are medieval, and such all the characters are medieval as well. That has a class-based system where once you reach a certain level, usually 10, you can go into from a basic unit to an advanced unit and get stronger. And in most games, at certain increments, in the most recent games, it seems to have been finalized as level 1 and level 10 for basic, level 5 and 15 for promoted. You get skills. Although in a game and in something like Fate, all you have personal skills. For various reasons. However, Fire Emblem, except for the new games of casual mode, the games have a very specific thing about Fire Emblem that makes it a bit harder than some other RPGs. Permadeath. Essentially, okay, you know SAO. Yes, I know I shouldn't bring up SAO, but I actually like the light novels, and it's the best way to explain it. If the character's HP in the game reaches 0, they're gone and you don't get them back. Any sort of items you had on them, levels you gained, skills you had, nope, they're gone forever. Nothing comes back. Although I think items might actually just drop in your inventory. I'm not sure. I haven't actually let anyone stay dead before, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
So
I never played on the classic mode, mainly because
I have. It makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
So
I also just don't like living with paranoia every move I make.
So the more recent games, that being Awakening, Fates, and Echoes, have casual mode where essentially A character cannot, if they die, they just come back to the next level. So instead of getting, like, say, a fatal wound, they get a flesh wound and have to run the battlefield so they don't take any more damage. And they also have something called Phoenix mode, which is essentially you win mode. To explain it as quickly as possible, character dies, they come back for the next fucking turn. I won't lie, I saw how I didn't know what it meant, so I did one level and let a character die, and when I saw them revive the next turn, I thought, fuck this, this mode is for babies. Literal babies.
Fun.
So, if you play Phoenix mode, I am going to roast you so hard, and then I am going to teabag you. And I should know I am actually a very nice person, and do not teabag. The only time I've ever teabagged is in this game when I did this. Nope, not that. Nope, not that. Might have actually been in no, it was in Fatal Bullet, my bad. And I learned that, and I discovered that by accident, I should note. So, yeah, don't play Phoenix mode. So, what is the basics of the gameplay, Draven?
Well, turn-based strategy, Hadji, in a somewhat simple form, although with some different systems, such as rock, paper, scissors, weapon triangle, which has followed through the series throughout a while, except for bows and toes. Those were kind of their own class.
We should also explain the weapons triangle came into play, I think, around Genealogy of the Holy War, which I'm gonna note, Genealogy of the Holy War was is essentially known as the Holy Mother of the series, because it brought a lot to the table, and besides the crushing difficulty, it is very hard to find problems with that game. It was essentially the peak of Fire Emblem's life.
It is the building blocks. It is the basis. It is the stone fortress that the castle was built on.
Well, it was the fifth game of the series, so not technically no, but I get what you're saying.
Well, it's a somewhat stone fortress that surrounded the castle.
I mean, it's also what brought up. It's also, if I recall, it made a lot of the mechanics like forts. It brought up a few things like weapon ranks. It also a big portion of the game was how the characters, if characters married in the second generation, which is the second half of the game, would get their abilities. So that was actually the first time. That was actually the first showing up of child units, and it was actually done as like a full-on second half of the game instead of like optional units. So the weapon triangle.
Travel bullshit.
Yeah. Hey, at least it's not Fate's version. We'll get that in a bit. So the weapon triangle is swords beat axes, axes beat lances, and lances beat swords. Essentially, in a real life standpoint, swords are smaller and can go through the gaps in axes. Axes can break the poles of lances, and lances are longer and can go farther than swords can reach. Also in Fate, they made it so, correct me if I'm wrong here, magic beats bows beats throwing weapons, and throwing weapons beats magic. Well, I say throwing weapons because it's daggers and kunai.
Fair enough, but they're in the sort of same classification.
The official name for those weapons is ranged weapons. Get used to it.
I don't. Well, I mean, I guess you could throw a fucking candle at them.
Or a berry.
Or in Felicia's case in Heroes, she throws a fucking plate.
Fair. There's actually a weapon in Fates. Believe it or not.
Well, it's a plate then. Alright, great.
So, anyway. Magic and bows in other games, because ranged weapons were introduced in Fate, and they've only been in that game, to my knowledge. Bows were like normal bows, except for echoes. They were ranged weapons they could only fire from 2 spaces away, and in some games, like Marksman in Radiant Dawn and when taking echoes, because that game is a remake of Gaiden, who's the Black Sheep series. Bows could attack from range with those ones, but bows to a lot of players are considered to be kind of gimmicky because they're not always good, and in Blazing Sword they were actually a weakness, which is sad because I kind of like the archers in Blazing Sword. And Magic's gone through a lot. To start with, Magic was essentially a 1-2 weapon that could only be wielded by mages, and had its own separate stat called Magic for attacking, not strength. So yeah. It was also for mages, I should know, having skill strength and magic was important because in earlier games they had something called Constitution, which was essentially your weight limit, and mages needed a good strength stat to be able to carry some of the heavier tomes, like say the Siege Tomes, both tomes that can attack from like 10 spaces away or something, but can't be counterattacked with. Magics also had their own triangle, where dark magic meets anima magic. Anima magic meets. Sorry, no, my bad. Light magic meets dark magic. Dark magic meets anima magic, and anima magic meets light magic. Anima magic is fire, thunder, and wind. Dark magic is dark magic, and light magic is, well, light magic. Light magic is the rarest of the three, and dark magic is the second rarest, because there have been very few light magic users. Anima magic also has a couple of rules. Firstly, thunder magic is essentially the axis of magic, in that it's slow and powerful. Also, it deals extra damage to dragon enemies. Wind magic is like, well, swords, because it's easy to wield but has less power.
Is everyone ready to return?
And is strong against flyers. Meanwhile, fire magic is like lances in that it has equal attack power and weight, so it's essentially the best middle ground. And it's good against bestial foes. Am I forgetting anything?
Yeah, that explains it well, probably.
Also, there are two really big things that make Fire Emblem unique from other titles. The first one involves the weapons. Draven?
Well, I'm not really skilled in the weapon department, but I can try. Well, actually, no, wait, no, I cannot. Shit!
What is, besides Fates and Echoes, what is the big mechanic about weapons in Fire Emblem, you dum-dum?
Durability!
Yeah, explain please.
Well, certain weapons have a limited amount of durability. There's a level of how many times you could smack someone in the face with a sword, or an axe, or a spear. Sometimes that shit's gonna break. And the most...
Including magic.
Besides the mystical magical weapons,
like say Chrome's Falchion,
Mars Falchion,
any of the Radiant weapon, any of the legendary weapons in Fates. Essentially, except for about.
Actually, to be fair, none of the weapons in Fates have durability.
Okay, well, true. But even if they
took
did,
that out.
For better or for worse.
But they replaced it with like downsides for each weapon.
So we'll get into that in a bit. So the stronger weapon is internally the stronger it is, the less uses it have. So say so weapon ranks, what are those?
Well, okay, you said weapon ranks, right?
Yeah.
Weapon ranks go from, if I'm correct, D to A.
E to
Sometimes
S.
S.
E to S, and in some games double S.
Yeah. Or triple S in some cases.
And that's really rare.
Yeah, really rare. That's like, I think only, like some, I know there was like some in Radiant Dawn and Path of Radiance and all that, but that's
no,
not
I think it was
story.
only in Radiant Dawn.
Well, besides that, at weapon ranks usually can give you, usually just start off with some lower tier stuff. The joke oak weaponry, you have the mixture of the joke weaponry, the bronze weaponry down in E and D.
Well, E.
Yeah. When you go up to D, you've got the iron weapons and access to a few more special weapons that can help you in a pinch.
Range weapons, essentially.
Yeah,
Weapons that can attack from 1 spaces away. We should note that this does not count for swords, because for some reason, despite there being tons of sword wielders, there are like 3 ranged swords in the game. Series.
11 sword, which works only off of magic, which basically means prepare for Robin and Morgan to be the only one to use that.
The Amaterasu, which is like a really rare sword that has very few uses, and then stuff like Ragnell, which is unique weapon.
Which has literally been turned into a fucking Porprium.
So we go up to C rank, and
then we have. I mean, it's not technically the weapons. If I'm correct, this is when the killing edge pops up.
yes, in C rank we get
No.
we get 2 special weapons. We get steel weapons and the killing weapons. Would you mind explaining the killing weapons to us?
The killing weapons increased crit chance, which
About 30%.
Yeah, but when you give it to someone like, say, Lon on Q.
Essentially, a class like Myrmidon or Berserker, which have internally increased crit rank, it goes up like 50. Yeah, actually, no. I've seen Olivia in one of my playthroughs have a 90% crit rate with a killing edge, and a 60 without.
I've seen death happen, and it's beautiful.
Critical hits are what I expect in most games. they do 3, and in the more recent games, sometimes 4 times the damage that normal attack would do. So if you get them, unless you're like using a really weak weapon against an armored foe, it's probably gonna kill them or at least severely damage them.
Yeah. For example, it's a crit against an armored foe usually will mean you'll at least get them to half health, even if they're the tankiest a-hole on the planet.
Not if you're only going to do 2 damage originally.
Fair enough. You'll at least do like 10 to 15 damage.
6. Okay, so
the killing weapons are basically the upper hand.
Yeah, but they come with being accenting between iron and steel weapons and strength, and they have less uses.
Yeah.
Because
it becomes a bit of a risk play.
Because E rank usually has 50 uses, D rank has 40, C rank has either 25 or 30, and then we move on to B rank.
B rank, if I'm correct, includes the... What were the weapons in that sector again? Was it like...
Silver weapons?
Silver weapons, I think so, yeah.
And I think it's also the next tier of throwing weapons. No, maybe the final tier. So
I think,
B rank.
I think like, yeah,
Sorry.
I think B rank. I think B rank. I think like C rank had some of the other throwing weapons.
Yeah.
Because like
B
I think
rank-
C rank had the javelins.
Yeah, B rank. No, D rank had javelins. We should know that as the character's weapon rank gets stronger, they're when they're using the weapon, they actually get a bit stronger using it internally. It's a bunch of internal mumbo jumbo that we don't get because we're not programmers. B rank is kind of a little weird because while it's really good, there isn't a lot going for it minus the silver weapons. And well, yeah, silver weapons are really powerful. They also have very few uses.
Yeah, that's the kind of level
And-
you get more power. It's just you're also not
quicker
really
than
all
break.
that powerful afterwards.
And then Fate's silver weapons are a goddamn liability because they drop your stats by a good bit.
Yeah.
Fate's okay, I know we're going back to Fate's a lot, but there was a lot wrong with that game. Fate's essentially past weapons that are not unique weapons past C rank are fucking liabilities because they weaken your stats by a good chunk. And unless the characters are not gonna be fighting anything on the enemy turn, you do not use them. So essentially, the best weapons in Fates, to my experience, have been forged steel weapons. We should also we should know you can forge weapons to make them stronger. In some games, you can add you can make them stronger, have better accuracy because there's hit rate in this game, increase the crit rate, and you can also name them. I've had names like Daylight, Foe Vanquisher, and Elaine Dark. Okay, the last one was actually a character, but yeah.
To be fair, their one character's special weapon does require you to have multiple weapons with names longer than, if I'm correct, 10 characters.
Yes. We'll just note that for me at least, and actually a lot of people, forged weapon names can get very wonky. I usually try and make it fitting with the character I'm giving it to, or the item in question.
Dancing Blade!
Or Impaler, if I'm, say, putting a Spear Matilda. But, like, let's just say that some of the names can get real weird, and if you insult us for it, well, you don't know good when you see it. Yeah. Anyway, back into the original topic. A rank weapons.
If I'm correct, this is where we just get full special weaponry up the wazoo.
Yeah. A rank essentially, you can use unique weapons now, like say, okay, so essentially any spell or weapon that has a unique name is not a character specific.
Yeah, if I'm correct, this also goes into somewhere with weapons. If I'm correct, Amaterasu is like an A rank weapon, isn't it?
Yeah. Amatsu.
Yeah,
it's called Amatsu, I think.
Whatever it is a weapon.
And then
Weapon
S rank,
that
which is in very few games, is essentially perfection, and it's only good for like 1 or 2 weapons.
Yeah. And only few classes can reach that level of power. However, when it comes
Radiant
to
Dawn, essentially any 3rd tier class. Yes, Radiant Dawn has 3 tiers because it's a really hard game, and a couple of the characters start off with are 2nd tier. And I'm gonna fully admit, I love the 3rd tier classes because they look so cool and they have a bunch of special abilities. But it's a little over the top.
They have the rad shit.
Yeah, they do, and they look awesome. We'll go that when we get into classes. Yeah, S rank is like, okay, so is really not that useful because it's only good for like 1 or 2 weapons. So to summarize, E rank,
It's still
E
there,
rank,
but it's
yeah. E rank, dum dums. D rank, okay, you're common. C rank, you're starting to get good. B rank, okay, you're pretty strong. Here's something good. A rank, time for the legendary shit. S rank, you are a master. To put it in dumb terms. So yeah, also I should note, unique weapons often have only 20 uses! Fuck me.
But hey, the fun part is that you can pick them up off the ground.
Oh wait! Draven, we almost forgot something very important, A rank.
Oh, what?
The Brave series.
Oh, right, the Brave series. Now I can give a quick rundown of that. With a very fun advertisement. Do you want to smack the hell out of people harder? Do you feel angry enough to smack someone again? Well, let me introduce you to the Brave Weapon series. The Brave Weapon series allows you to attack twice, no matter what.
Essentially,
I wish I was joking, but no, this is the case. The only issue is that you do less damage.
So we should.
If I'm correct.
It depends. We should know. In this game, characters have a bunch of stats. They have HP, strength, which you know, physical strength, magical strength, skill, which is essentially skill is activating skills. Yes, I know that's dumb. And like say hit rate and such. Speed is how fast you attack, and often allows you to double attack. Because if you have, I think if you have 5 more speed than the opponent, you attack twice. Defense, explainable resistance, magic defense, and luck, which is a whole bunch of shit.
Luck is a whole bunch of shit, but one of the main things luck has is I think it just decreases the chance of an enemy getting a crit on you. Yeah, that's one of the things, if I remember correctly.
I think it mucks about with crit rate, and also is with skill, and it helps with hit rate and dodge rate. So, and with a Brave Weapon, say you can attack an enemy twice normally. With a Brave Weapon, you attack 2 times.
You can do it 4 times!
Essentially, with Brave Weapons, you attack, if the enemy is going to attack after you, with a Brave Weapon, you attack 2 times before them, then they attack, and then if you're going to double attack them originally, then you attack 2 times again. Although we should note, every hit takes up a weapon use. So while Brave Weapons are fucking broken, because I think their attack rate is still the same as other weapons, because you know they're A rank.
At least sometimes.
They break quick.
Yeah.
The slowest I've ever seen a Brave Weapon break is it lasted 3 chapters, and that's because I had the Mercenaries skill that makes it so sometimes you don't use up a weapon charge.
Yep.
And in some games, the Brave Weapons are unique ones. Like Radiant Dawn.
And then sometimes the Brave Weapons are kind of useless.
Yeah. 1 second, need to use the restroom. You can keep explaining Fireman while I'm gone.
We were going on to classes next, if I'm correct, right?
Don't do that without me! Do something else. This is boring.
I'll just keep giving advertisements on weapons.
Okay.
So let me tell you about the fun thing about Fates, and just the Brave Weapons. The Brave Weapons and Fates are kind of, Like the thing is, they're good. I mean, you have an attack thing, and like Fates is probably one of the easiest games to break, depending on which route you're playing, because things get terrifying, and I do mean terrifying. However, but the Brave Weapons in Fate, it sometimes goes between alright to passable to why do I even have you? It hits twice still, and you can still do the same 4 hitting things, but the problem is the stat debuffs on you are, they hurt. They hurt real bad. They feel like you're getting thing just. Ugh. Feels like you had. Feels like you are a human jelly bean after the stats are just. It ain't good. This is why you usually just stick with. This is why you usually have an all-around kind of inventory in Fates. You have to at least balance it out, else you're gonna have a bad time. I don't mean that as a reference. I just mean that as you're gonna have a bad time. It is a painful thing. We'll talk about map layouts at some point, I think, because, like, eventually we're gonna go on a... Eventually someone is going to talk about some other bosses, and, oh boy! Archery. Everything is suffering. Now, what else do I have up my sleeve? Oh yeah, the Dark Tomes! Now let me tell you about the Dark Tomes. The Dark Tomes are a fairly interesting bunch of spells that were originally limited to, that were limited to sorcerers, and mages who could use it. Specifically for Awakening, there was Tharja and Henry, and also Robin and Morgan, depending on certain things. By certain things, I mean who did Robin hit the marriage button with? Dark Tomes are a fun and amazing thing.
I nearly got myself killed by washing my hands.
Great. I don't know how to respond to that. I was just telling these people about Dark Tomes.
I slipped and my face almost hit the faucet.
Well, glad you're alive.
Yay. Okay. Anyway, we were gonna do classes next.
Yeah, we were, but I think we also forgot one thing to talk about.
What?
Talk about in terms of weaponry. Well, we talked about tomes. We didn't talk about the Dark Tomes.
Oh, right. Okay, we should probably explain that then. Oh, and also note that
the Dark Tomes.
Also, we should note that magic also goes with ranks too, going normal, L, arc, something special like Bolganone, and then Rex.
Yeah.
And then unique weapons.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Dark Tomes have mainly only been used by the Dark Mages and the Sorcerers. Specifically for Awakening, there's Henry and Tharja, and for Dark Mages, they act exactly how you expect them to act.
Which is?
Curses, hexes, and psychotic cheer.
So I'm gonna name off all the dark magic that I know of, because there's probably something I missed. Flux, Nosferatu, Luna, Fenrir, Glepner. Am I forgetting anything?
Ruin.
Thank you. You know what? I'm gonna go and grab my handmade book of Fire Emblem spells. Yes, I made a book of Fire Emblem spells. It was for a project.
There's also technically Grima's Truth, but that's a special weapon.
And that's something else.
Yeah, it's its own special weapon that you can
stuff like
get.
Grima's Truth and Exploration, which is also dark magic, I should note, are unique weapons.
Yeah, but Exploration is kind of limited to a certain something.
Dragon. Dark Dragon. Oh, we're also going to talk about healing magic in a bit.
Healing magic? Oh boy, I'm going to leave that one to you because...
Not yet! I'm going to read off a little summary of dark magic.
Well, I need to leave that one to you, mainly because I still need to tell someone about the now ever-present hole in my ceiling.
Okay. Dark magic.
Well, not a hole in my ceiling per se. It's just a hole in my closet.
Dark magic, an array and corrupt type of magic that originally was only capable of being used by monsters and the immortal, until someone figured out how it worked, and thus brought forth an entirely new school of magic. However, practitioners prefer to call it elder magic for that very reason.
It's kind of becoming hard to hear.
Elder magic is considered unclean and foul, and while other magic tugs at mana lines, elder magic attacks it and tears it up. Mana line rich areas are often covered in greenery, but those that have seen high uses of elder magic are often deserts or full of brittle tough plants. Dark magic also has adverse effects. For instance, it can become parts of the skin to become blackened and cracked, called magic decay, often used behind the ears, back, or if you say have a deep scar. However, dark magic isn't actually evil, it just looks evil. It's dark magic are often actually start doing it out of pursuit of knowledge, because a lot of dark mages are scholars. However, sometimes they can let the dark magic overtake them, and they become completely, and they go, well, evil, mad.
There's a bit of a level.
However, a lot of dark mages who have given into the darkness live longer. However, dark magic also eats away at your life. In some cases, dark magic actually requires you to take away the life force of something else, and sometimes it can be your own. Although, there is one case of a character called Brodemon in Blazing Sword who completely controlled dark magic, and their personality essentially became a mirror.
Sounds terrifying.
I mean, he acts calm when he's talking to Eloy, when he's talking to Lyn, he acts respectful, when he's talking to Hector, he acts violent. Yeah, so, the spells that I have, okay, Flux, Nosferatu, Luna, Karu, Varine, Gleipnir, Luna, and Apocalypse. So, to explain each, Flux is essentially a fire tome, or a wind, or a thunder tome. It's basic level of dark magic that anyone can use, that anyone who doesn't know anything can use. It can either be in a sort of burst or a creeping, crawly thing. Next to Nosferatu, probably one of the most well-known dark magics. It's dark magic that has a life drain effect. This is good because most dark mages are squishy and easy to kill. So the life drain effect is very good because essentially you do 17 damage, you get 17 health back. Luna is very unique because it negates resistance. Let's say you're fighting a mage that has like 40 resistance. With Luna, it's like they have 0. It's kind of broken.
Hold on, I'm trying to remember. What was the one? I know there was like a dark tome that was like the killing weapons variety of dark tomes.
I don't actually remember. I will. No, that's Ruin.
Yeah. Okay. Had a feeling.
Ruin is kind of a unique spell. It's only been in a few games, but it's essentially a killing edge in magic form.
And then they gave that variant to Mjolnir, and Fates.
Yeah. Also, I should note that there's another spell that I'm gonna bring up called Mire, which is like bolting, blizzard or meteor, in that it's a siege tome, in that it's long ranged, as in like up to 10 spaces, but it's ridiculously heavy. Also, I think this is only in a few games, like say Radiant Dawn. There's Karu, which is essentially a C+ rank tome, I think. It's like an Arc Fire, Arc Thunder, Arc Wind in terms of power, but a bit stronger. And then Varine is essentially what I would call grand magic. Grand magic, this is what I call it, is magic that is above the arc version, but not as strong as say some of the higher tier magic. It's my own devising. It's for me. I consider the spells Bolgana, which is more of a lava, Thoron, and if I can find it, Finvolter, which is more like ice magic, is essentially a really powerful version of a spell that's A rank, and is broken. Also, there's one called Apocalypse, which is like the spell Forblaze, Forseti, Moldunor. Don't remember light magic. I'm not with light magic. Because those spells are all legendary magic. As in, they're as in really old and are really special. Like Forblaze is a special tome that essentially puts on fire. Moldunor is, Thor's hammer. Forseti is essentially a massive gale storm, and Apocalypse is, well, it's the apocalypse. So, okay, after that long, we're going to talk about magic for a bit, because that is kind of important.
We can talk about classes!
Which I think is both of our favorite parts of the whole damn series.
Pretty much, if only to see some interesting things. I mean, my personal favorite thing about the classes is that they look cool. The designs are great.
I'm gonna also note that
you have rad designs, but then you also have... What the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah. I should also note that I am a massive fanboy for class-based systems, like, say, Final Fantasy V.
I have this weird thing about the classes, where I like some of their designs in one game, and then I do not like them in another.
This isn't really going to be much of a gaming stream, more of a talking stream, but I can't really do anything else because I don't have a capture card.
Yeah. I can do slight commentary with cross tag battle. I'm surprisingly okay at doing something and commentating.
So, I'm actually gonna go into my rooming game and listen to music to help us better.
Go ahead.
So, what class should we start with?
Well, the basics are usually good, so I think the best place to start usually might be the classes.
I'm trying to find a good music. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. I think the best place to start out would probably be the classes you're usually going to see at the beginning. So I'd say the best examples would just be like the knight, the mercenary, stuff like that.
Draven, can you 1 second?
Go ahead.
Okay. There isn't a lot of good casual music in this game. Oh, here's one. Okay. It sounds weird, but okay. So what class should we start with first?
I'd say the best place to start off with would usually be the classes that you are mainly going to see at the beginning. Like, for example, a knight, a cleric of some kind. You get what I mean?
Yeah. How about we start with probably one of the most with a class that we see almost every single time, Cavaliers.
That's the name. I was wondering why I could never ever remember the name. Cavalier.
Cavaliers are horsebound units. Horsebound units are characters that are on horses, or sometimes other beasts, depends. They have increased movement range because this is a turn-based game with a bunch of grids.
However, they have the downside that they cannot walk through any place that has trees
Or mountains.
Yeah.
Also,
we leave those to the flying units.
Also, they're weak to stuff that is good against beasts, like Beast Killer, Horse Slayer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because they're
mainly they mainly are good all around units at least most of the time.
And you usually get 2 or 3 in every game, and this is where we start with the archetypes of each game. We have the Able and Canes, or the Red and Green Cavaliers. Essentially,
but then we also have the Jagans.
Okay, let's start with the Ables and with the Red and Green, because Jagans are a bit different.
Red and Green.
Red and Green Cavaliers often have some sort of backstory. They're based off Able and Cain from the original game, Fire Emblem, who were brothers. Green Cavaliers are often more speed and skill based and have better resistances. They're better all-rounders, while Red Cavaliers have better strength and defense but are slower. So kind of what you pick what you want to have them with. Some notable examples.
Their personalities are also usually
the Red Cavalier is more strict and uptight, usually, while the Green Cavalier is more laid back and mellow.
Well, yeah, to be fair, also sometimes hot-blooded, but I think the one that technically kind of broke that main rule of personalities was in Blazing Sword, if I'm correct, where we had
Sane and Ken.
Yeah.
That kind of flipped the stuff. That kind of did it, but some notable.
It was mainly personalities.
Some notable Red Cavaliers are Sane and Ken from Blazing Sword, Oscar and Carrion from the Talia series, and Sully and Stahl from Awakening.
We never actually got, if I'm correct, did we ever actually get an Able and Cain for Fates?
We did, in the form of Saizo and Kaze.
I mean, sorry.
They're officially recognized as the Able and Cain of that game, but they're ninjas.
I mean, it's weird, but at the same time, it's like, maybe it's just me because they both did the exact same thing.
Yeah. It's more in their personality.
There is no difference in it. Like,
it's
none
more,
focus,
it's
more,
none... It's more in their personalities, Raven.
Fair enough.
Okay, so... Cavaliers often wield lances, and in some games, swords. So they're fairly good all-rounders.
Always the best.
So, Draven, should we keep on with the base classes, or do their promoted forms after we talk about the base classes?
Probably for the best, since the Jagan type we can now explain with the Great Knights.
There, and the Oifi. So let's start with the advanced forms of the Cavalier, which are,
if I remember correctly, there is the Great Knight, and if I'm also correct, the Bow Knight.
Paladin, actually.
Paladin? Oh yeah, right. There's the Paladin.
Bow Knights are...
Mercenaries are the only ones that get the Bow Knight, and sometimes archers.
Yeah. So Paladins keep going with the all-rounder. Their stats are often very balanced, but they have better resistances than the Great Knight, and they often come with skills that allow them to help them better when they're outdoors, or a skill like, I think it's called Pavize, which essentially cuts in half all damage from the triangle weapons. No, sorry, from the other weapons like bows, tomes, and dragonstones, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, and I think
we'll go into those when we get to the classes.
Yeah. There's also other skills like that, but we'll get to that later. for now,
Skills are
that's
something we
Paladin's
can talk
for
about
you.
last, because there are a ton of them.
Yeah, Paladins
So-
are just its own
So,
thing.
and
Basically all-rounders. And
So-
then we have the Great Knights.
You explain this one.
Okay, so the Great Knights are usually what you're going to see as the already pre-promoted hooded class, depending on it. But let me
Explain
tell
what-
you about the
explain
Jagan.
Explain what Great Knights are first, then get into the archetypes. Because some people
Got
don't
it.
know what Great Knights are.
Great Knights, Hate Knights are usually the tankier bunch, and can hit like a dump truck at times.
They're
Mainly.
they're essentially moving walls of armor and lance, but as their armored foes, they also take weakness that other armored units have, such as they're weak to armor slayers, because yes, some weapons actually do more damage to armored units.
And of course, they're still weak to the beast side of slaying.
Because they're on horses.
So technically, while they can take more, they also have more ways you can screw them over.
So essentially, Great Knights are a lot more bulky, but if I'm being honest, Paladins are often a lot better unless the character is made to become a Great Knight. Like their stats help them become a Great Knight. And that's if the RNG is on their side, because I know this is out of nowhere, but we should note RNG is a huge factor in this game. RNG determines hit rate, it determines crit rate, it determines how much damage you do, and most importantly, it determines your stats. You do not get stats.
Now that becomes sometimes a problem, especially if you're talking earlier games and not Awakening or Fates, where you can reclass like 10 times over.
We should note that every character has their own unique stat growth for each skill, for each stat. So and it often goes with the classes, like say mages have better magic growth, but have worse defense and strength growth. And if a character gets stat screwed, they're essentially useless. Although the older games, especially stuff and Echoes, stat growth still suck.
Yeah,
yes,
you had pain.
I know we're doing classes right now, but we need to explain this. You have a percentage chance of getting stats for every single character, and each character on their wiki page has their stat growth. So some characters are absolutely useless because they don't get good stat growth.
And some characters are like Azura, who literally somehow is more beefier than fucking Ike.
Yeesh, I don't know how that works. Yeah, stat growth can be weird, and I should also note this because I know this from looking at it. In Radiant Dawn, the part 1 characters called the Dawn Brigade, their stats are not what you usually expect of their class. Like say the fighter, which are often known for strength and defense, he has good speed and skill growth. And like that's just one I remember very well. Also, I should know the knight in part 1, whose name is Meg. Guess what her stat growths are good at? Guess what her stat growths are?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I
Man,
remember.
fucking look! Knight's supposed to tank! She can't take for shit!
Yep.
Sorry, I had to get that out. Anyway, back to classes after our little mini explanation.
Now that's mainly just stats and what they can do. Now on to the archetype that usually comes with the Great Knights.
Or Paladin in some games, because the original Dragon was a Paladin.
Indeed. So usually the pre-promoted Cavaliers go into the category of Jagan.
We should
Why
know
Jagan?
a Jagan is a pre-promoted, usually at the beginning of the game, that is meant to be your crutch character. However, in exchange, Draven.
Yeah, sorry. Alright, yeah. In exchange, they kind of fall off late game.
Or mid game, because
Really hard.
Because essentially, a Dragon starts off good, but their stat growths are absolute shit. Also,
These old woo.
however, and often Jagans are older men. Although there are some unique cases.
Often. There are exceptions. For example, Frederick.
Although he's from
Patrick.
Awakening. Well, looking
Yeah.
at it. And Soth, who's not a knight. He's a rogue.
Eh? Frederick? No.
Soth. Soth.
Oh, right. Soft.
However, there's also another archetype for these pre-modes called Oifis. Oifis are like Jagans, but they're not shit. And they start as pre-promotes, but their stat growths are still good. We should note some notable Jagans are Marcus from Blazing Sword and Binding Blade, Soth from Radiant Dawn, and Gunter, sort of, from Fates. Some good Oifis, however, which are essentially pre-promotes that are good, no matter what, are Seth from Sacred Stones. I mean, seriously, you could solo the whole game with Seth. He is that broken. And to a degree, Frederick, if you reclass him.
In the immortal words of Frederick the Man,
The Wary.
pick a god and pray.
Frederick the Wary.
Frederick the Wary, pick a god and pray.
Yeah, no, that's a good line. Okay, so...
That's literally the greatest line ever.
So, also, since we're still on this, we should probably go into some of the other classes, like the third tier. In Path to Radiance, instead of going into a Great or a Paladin, Cavaliers can advance into Silver or Gold Knights. Silver Knights are if a Cavalier was, because in that game, in the Talia series, classes like Cavaliers and Generals only could use one type of weapon until they promoted. This is mostly for the for third tiers. Silver Knights are lance or bow using Cavaliers, and they're essentially more balanced. While Gold Knights are paladins or cavaliers who use swords or axes. And Gold Knights are essentially really beefy paladins. Same with Silver Knights. Like, Gold and Silver Knights are essentially really beefy paladins. Also, in Radiant Dawn, they had the skill Soul, which I think did triple damage and healed you. So it's Silver Knights.
You're talking,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go into the third tier classes, don't worry.
Yeah, we'll worry about that later, probably.
Okay, moving on to Knight class.
Well, let's see. We've talked about the... I think we can move on to there unless you want to go over the archers or the fighters next.
Now, let's go on to the Knight class. So, the Knight class is the tank.
Boys.
They're armor units, so they're slow, but they have heaps of defense, and unless you're dealing with a mage, they can shrug off a lot of attacks. Like I said,
Fun.
they have low resistance, so mages, well, they'll get cooked in their armor.
Yeah, that's kind of basically a thing, and I think armor can be kind of conductive for electricity.
Yeah, don't get wind though.
I think wind is just the fact that it's a really sharp, fucking just
But
really
wind
sharp wind, like running right into the holes in your armor.
But wind and arc wind are tornadoes. Elwyn's the only one with the blade.
To be fair, you are getting thrown around. Oh no!
Fair.
To be fair, if you're
Fair.
hit with a tornado and a giant hunk of armor, you are kind of getting your head and body like just thrown around in a
Okay, fair.
giant hunk of metal.
So yeah, knights, beefy boys who are very buff and are very hard to kill unless you're dealing with a mage. They're meant for dealing with choke points. and I'm gonna admit, I like knights a lot. Knights also have... I'm trying to remember this. They also have an archetype called Drog, which is essentially an early game knight. So noble Drogs are Gillum from Sacred Stones. I can't remember the first knight in. Is there a knight in Lynn's part of Blazing Sword?
Not that I remember. Like at most, those two I remember was like the cleric and mage duo with one not wanting to die, with one just wanting to be away from their other.
Okay.
And then there was also the main man Dorcas.
Okay, we get it. Another noticeable Drog is Kellum from Awakening, sort of.
Okay, I was a little bit laughing there because I was like, did you? I thought when you said like you don't remember, I thought you were talking about Kellum.
No, I should note that Kellum is unique in that he's a Drog, but you can actually miss out on recruiting him because because you have to talk to him. Because yeah, in Fire Emblem, some enemy units that have if a unit has a name and a special portrait, often that means you can talk to them with the Lord character or a unit who's related to them. It's how you recruit units, because you aren't just gonna get units. You're gonna have to talk to some. Well, but I'll go more into that when we get to the Myrmidon. For reasons. So, what can knights promote to?
Well, we've got. Usually they can go into, if I'm correct about this great knight, but we've already covered that.
Yeah.
However, their main one is the general.
Essentially, think an even bulkier, beefier knight that actually can deal some that can take it and dish it back out.
You are technically a walking tank.
You're essentially a walking fortress.
Okay, that too. And it also comes with the secondary, and it also comes with the part two of the skills. We go from Pavis to, if I'm correct,
Aegis.
Whatever.
It's Aegis. Essentially cuts damage for the love and triangle. Axes, bows, lances, and swords.
Yeah, the physical weapon.
Also, I'm gonna note, in the GBA games, journals have some bitching good animations.
They are, I mean, you never expect them to, but I mean, you can't go wrong with one of them literally wielding a chain spear.
Yeah, it's a spear that has a chain attached to it. The swords are massive, about half the size of them, and by the way, they also have chain axes.
It sort of becomes a fucking just wait and watch. I mean, despite the original Fire Emblem games not having much in terms of animation at times, they sometimes threw out the fucking, like, everything.
It's still good.
And my personal favorite example is in Sacred Stones with Joshua. I love his dodge animation.
It is good. Yeah, I'm gonna... another note, animations are beautiful. So, the third class, if I'm remembering this right, the third class for in Rainy Dawn for knights is, I think it's fucking, I can't remember now. You know what? You go into the next class. I will look that up.
Okay, so next class, archers.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll go with archers. Archers, simple start. Archers, your ranged guys. The weak, you can head-on fights, but great at distance. Got it. The third tier class for journals are called marshals, and they get Luna. Draven! Warn me next time. What?
I got static.
Sorry.
Luna, in most games, ignores defense. For marshals, it just does 4 times damage. Okay, back to archers. Sorry.
Yeah. So okay. So archers, the distance guys, the
Bow-
the
bow
usual guys you
users.
can rely on for physical distance.
Bow users, essentially.
Yeah. Nothing real. They're simple, effective, but they always can be useful to you at some point. They're especially effective against the flying units, specifically.
Except for blazing sword.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a thing. But yeah.
Yeah, bows are super effective against flying units like Pegasi or Wyverns.
Yeah. So, oh, there's that. There's that. Usually it's always good to have them because distance is fun, but yeah. Now where it gets interesting is when they get upgraded because you have two choices.
3 actually, technically now.
All right. Well, besides that, let's start off with the basics: Bow Knight, and Sniper. We'll go with Sniper first since it's the easiest explanation.
Bow Knight, a Sniper is essentially a stronger archer.
Very, very easy to explain.
They're just archers that are stronger.
Yeah. Nothing really special. They don't even get, if I'm correct, they don't even get like a new skill that like does something for them. Besides Bowfair.
I think all they have is Bowfair. Now, Bow Knights are a bit different in that they're on horseback, so they come with the problems of horseback. However, they can also use swords.
They gain a new advantage, and yet they also gain a new disadvantage.
Yep. Also, I should note in the GBA games, there was a class called Nomad, which is essentially a Bow Knight, and then Ranger, which was a more traditional Bow Knight. It was interesting. Like a Nomad was essentially a ranged horseback archer, and a Ranger was a normal Bow Knight. Also, Bow Knight. There are also two things you should know about archers. An archer's third form is called a marksman, only in Radiant Dawn, and they get a skill called Deadeye, which does 3 times damage, and if the target survives, puts them to sleep somehow. Also, I should note the animation for Deadeye is the character throwing up an arrow, then jumping up after it with seemingly no propulsion, and just going up like 10 feet in the air on their own, and firing.
Logic kind of left when. I think logic kind of left when we had Ike throwing his sword up in the air and doing a fucking flip with the sword.
Fair. Anyway, the other form for to evolve archers to, which is only in Fate, is Kinchi Knight. Essentially, a flying archer. They can also use lances.
That's really it, surprisingly.
Kinchi Knights are... Yeah.
I mean, we can give credit. The design is kind of cool. Like, it literally looks like a... I mean, you're fucking riding a fucking sunbird, basically.
It's actually called a Kinchi. It's an actual myth. But yeah, Kinchi Knights, like some other classes, like one we'll get into later, are just kind of there.
They're not bad. It's just they're not really that great, especially when then you could just go with Sniper, which is equally better for like a lot of units.
Yeah.
Units.
Anyway,
for example, in Fates, there's like for the characters you see on the archer side, Takumi better as a sniper, hyper because of his stats. Setsuna better as a sniper because of her stats.
Okay, we get it. And I should also know I don't think there are any enemy Kinchi Knights in the game. Not sure.
Oh
anyway,
no, there are.
Okay.
There are.
Okay.
At least
let's get onto a class we need to go into.
Are we talking about the Myrmidons?
No, clerics.
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 Yes, healing magic.
Clerics are the healing class. Healing is in this game very simple. You have heal, normal heal, mend, stronger heal, fortify, which is like 5 spaces around you, and psychic, which is long range. That's what you need to know. clerics are... They're clerics. They can only heal until they promote. That is it. Also, they usually have a skill called Miracle, which it activates based on luck. It makes it so that you survive a fatal hit if your HP is above 1. Now, when clerics eventually evolve and promote, because they take forever to promote, they have a couple of options depending on the game. I'll start with...
There is War Cleric.
War Cleric or War Priest, which is essentially a cleric that is wielding an axe.
As I believe if any of you have seen in a certain meme, it can basically be described as this. I'm a healer, but loads gun.
Oh.
That's how you describe hype War Cleric and War Priest.
Although that class was only, I think, an Awakening, and the only real good class, the only character to use it was Libra, because he started as one. Although Lisa can make a good War Cleric.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other two options for Cleric are Sage, which I'm gonna get into once we reach Mages, and Bishop, which is essentially a light magic wielding class. They can also heal.
This'll be fun.
Anyway, what class should we do next, Ravy?
Well, we've mainly got two options. We either keep going down a normal path and talk about the warrior, or we can go the correct path and talk about Myrmidons.
Fighter time! We need to bring up a fucking axe class eventually!
Fine.
We'll go into Myrmidon next. So, fighters are axe-wielding users. I know, surprising, there's actually an axe in these games. Axes are slow, but they are slow to hit hard and are hard to hit with. Fighters are essentially that idea personified. They're slow, they hit hard, and they have lots of HP.
Yeah, you get a different level of each, and sometimes. Now I don't know if this is a running theme, but usually the axe wielders are kind of so-so.
Yeah, due to how axes work, axes it's essentially luck based, because most axes, unless the character has really good skill, most axes have a hit rate of about 70, which is really bloody low.
You can't really ever just. It's not great. Some warrior and fighter types are usually fighters. Sorry, fighters are able to usually are able to break that mold. They're sometimes able to break it. For example, despite Vake being Vake, he's one of the fighters that's able to break.
Vake is essentially a dum-dum. The reason why Vake is like how he is because he actually has really good speed and skill growth. Like, ridiculously good speed and skill growth for a fighter.
As the ever immortal. What the? Hey, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, for some reason PS4 just said cannot operate with PS4 voice now.
Whatever. Anyway,
that was weird.
Fighters have a couple options depending on the game. The most basic thing that a fighter can promote into is a warrior.
Or a berserker.
We'll get into berserkers. Berserkers we'll get into pirates. Because that's what berserkers are originally from. So, what is a warrior?
Well, a warrior usually is just mainly what we've covered before, but instead of the berserkers going holy levels of ham, and warrior kind of sort of takes a few slow steps and decides to bring up a new weapon.
Bows.
What is this new weapon, you might ask? A bow! A lovely, lovely bow that you can now shoot at your enemies while laughing at their faces.
And it sometimes looks pretty good, like in Blazing Sword. Warriors are kind of the middle ground class, like paladins, in that they have good stats, but they're not quite. They're the jack of all trades, master none. They have good stats, but they're not as good at the job as others. However, they do have one thing going for them in a couple of games: counter.
Now, what is counter, you might ask? Well, it's kind of obvious, but in Fates, but at least with Awakening, it's gotten a little bit more, ow.
Essentially, you hit them right back!
Now, as a thing, it's like, okay, you'd think that's fine, but the skill is so good in, like, certain games, Awakening for example, that almost every enemy on higher difficulties has counter. And
we should note, counter is you get level 15. Also, I should note something else. Fighters also usually have a skill called HP plus 5, which is what you expect. It increases their HP by 5. It helps deal with their, squishiness. Because despite the fact that someone like Vega's gonna have like 30 HP by chapter 3, his defense is lacking.
He can't really take those hits.
That's why they have a lot of HP. Their HP sponges because, well, otherwise they crash and burn.
Yeah.
So the other...
And you gotta be careful. You cannot enter the Vake too hard, else you will be... Else, eventually by the end, you will be a Vake no more.
Yep. The other class that usually fighters can promote to is Hero, but I prefer to go into that with Mercs.
Yeah, Mercs we'll talk about soon. But first...
We should probably get into Myrmidons before Draven has a heart attack.
Myrmidons!
I'll let him explain these.
Let me tell you about these. Let me tell you about these guys. These guys are the sword wielders. These guys are the fucking masters of sword combat. These guys are speed and crit for fucking days. Hey.
However, in exchange, they have low HP and defense.
They can at least... So, you gotta kind of watch out. Watch out with them. However, they do make up for this with having painful things. Painful things to dish out to the enemy. For example...
They can be dodge tanks.
Very, very fun dodge tanks. But to give an idea of skills and what they can do, let's give the skill Vantage for an example. If at low HP, they have
under 50%.
Have a chance. Yeah, 150% had chance of going first in a fight, which is pretty fucking great.
If they're under 50 HP in recent games, they always go first.
Yep, they can prepare for a fun time if you get a crit hit on Vantage, because it's basically just like... Because this is basically the format of a giant middle finger to the enemy that thought they can kill you.
Yeah. So... Myrmidons also have a archetype called the Navarre archetype. Essentially, they start off as an enemy unit that you can recruit. However, the trick is they always start with a killing edge.
And that trait carries over a lot.
Notable Navarres are Guy from Blazing Sword, Rutger from Binding Blade, Mia, sort of, from from Path of Radiance, And to a degree, long coup from Awakening, but you get him automatically.
You never fight him, but you do earn him after beating the person that beat his ass.
Marth. Or, as she's actually known, Lucina. Which is, yeah.
We'll get to that later, because eventually we are going to get into the unique classes.
Like Lord.
Yeah, but that's for later.
Anyway,
for now...
Promotions.
We have to... Promotions. Okay, so... Promotions, if I'm correct, they usually follow the status quo of Swordmaster.
Yep.
But it might change. And also Assassin.
Which I think we should go into Assassin when we go into Thieves.
Yeah, Thieves are usually the best place to go for that, since those blend into it more, and Swordmasters go into Myrmidon well.
So Swordmasters are
basically a more advanced variant of what Myrmidons could already do, and even more.
However, they have a unique skill called Astra, which is...
Well, El, remember how we said hitting someone 5? Remember how we said hitting someone 4 times the possibility? Well, what happens when we give you a skill that literally allows you to do that, and you have a chance to crit on each fucking hit?
To explain...
Astra allows you...
To explain what Dravey is gushing about, Astra allows you... has a chance, based on your skill, to do 5 hits at half damage. Except in Radiant Dawn, where it's the master skill of the True Blade, the 3rd tier class, that is simply just doing 5 attacks at once.
However, I think they've at least updated it. However, you can still crit with like those 5 hits in Path of Radiance, right?
You can crit with those 5 hits in any game.
Well, that say goodbye to a boss.
Yeah. So, what class next?
What class next? I think since we've been doing mostly melee, we should probably talk about the mage classes.
Okay.
Now, the mages are an interesting bunch. By that I mean, we've discussed the tome usages and all of that, and how basically just being all around of magic stats work and all that. Mages are no different. However, the variety in the promotions is where it sort of hits a bit of an interesting point.
You should know, firstly, mages are, well, they're mage classes, and secondly, they're squishy as hell, but they use magic. A lot of enemies in the early game, especially, have low resistances.
Indeed.
So
now, they don't start off as unique, but when they get to their promotions, it's kind of when shit hits the fan harder than anything. For example, we have 2 Who classes that follow into this. We have specifically with the mages and the dark mages. Both of them can turn into a dark knight. However, they have one singular.
Wait. We should know that the dark mages are a bit different than mages. Is that they're slower, but they're a bit bulkier. Also, a dark knight is essentially a mage on a horse that can use a sword. They also have a skill called Life Taker, which is like Nosferatu, and it takes health if you win.
Fun.
So, explain their promotions, because I'm changing them.
Well, their promotions are a simple thing. A very simple thing, at least on the normal scales. Starting off with Sage, it's a mainly normal magic class, and if I'm correct, it could also... Actually, I'm not familiar on Sage skills, besides, if I'm correct, they get their own variant of Tome Fair.
They get Tome Fair.
Yeah, similar to the Sorcerer, but yeah. I think they get like a different secondary skill.
I forget.
Well, it's something else, but it's definitely they're definitely a good mage unit. Mage unit that you can't really pass up, especially with the fact that they can be a secondary healer if need be.
Yeah, because they do get access to healing magic. Now, sorcerers are the advanced version of dark mages.
And they hit like a fucking truck.
Because, like I've mentioned, dark magic is essentially the axes of magic.
And it shows.
They hit really hard. They're the only advanced class that can use dark magic, and at least in later games, they have access to a skill called Vengeance. Could you explain it, please?
Vengeance actually plays off of their more bulkiness when it comes to their health. Depending on the amount of damage they've taken recently, they will dish it back out tenfold.
Essentially, what Draven means is that, say your attack's gonna do 15 damage, and you're at 12 of 35 health. If you take away 12 minus 35, that's 23. So if Vengeance activates, instead of doing 15, you deal 38.
It is a perfectly well-adjusted thing. And let me tell you, when you're playing a dark mage, you'll be seeing that vengeance proc a lot.
Because dark mages because sorcerers actually, despite dark mages having lower skill than mages, they actually get a lot of skill when they promote.
Yep, and let me tell you, you will be hearing Tharja and Henry's quotes a lot.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you, you will be hearing. There will be no end to hearing. Have some death.
Yeah. Anyway, after going off on that, let's get into my favorite class, Mercenaries.
Oh boy. Ah yes, the ever famous mercenaries.
Mercenaries. They're sword wielding units. They are essentially really good. They hit hard.
Sort of.
They're a jack of all stats, but their stats are all good. They have good strength, defense, actually good resistance, skill, and speed, and some pretty good health. And they have a couple of skills that are based on their luck stat. For instance, they have a skill that I actually forget the name of, at least in Awakening, that makes it so they have a luck chance percentage of not using up a weapon charge.
Which is pretty amazing.
Think a Myrmidon, but without any of its problems. Because here's the thing. Minus lances, mercs have no weaknesses. They have some low movement range because they're footbound, but still, they're really good.
They're essentially the units that are going to be helpful no matter what.
Unless for some stupid reason the map is all lance users, you should always have a merc on your team.
Yeah,
because even in the older games, they have good constitution too. They have no real weaknesses, minus lances.
Yeah.
Their promotions are unfortunately the same as the fighters. They have access to warrior and hero. Hero class is essentially a better merc. They still have good stats all around, and they can also use axes, which in some cases is really good. However, they also have access to a skill called Soul, which is as I recall, skill divided by 2% chance of hitting the enemy back, and the damage, and however much damage you do, you get half that HP back.
And it is a great and fun skill.
And considering how high their skill is, it's gonna happen a lot.
You will definitely be hearing a lot of things.
Take Severa, Gregor, Inigo.
It also has quite possibly the greatest dodge animation in history.
Which is?
Maybe it's just the fact that I saw sorry about that. Maybe it's just the fact that I saw Donald do it most of the time, but there is nothing more funny than seeing Donald, the resident farm boy, backflip onto his pot helmet, and then just flip back onto his feet.
Yeah, they did. Heroes are pretty movable. Okay, so after gushing with a hero,
despite their armor looking a bit bulky, they somehow move faster than anything.
So what class should we do next?
Well, in terms of what we should cover next, let's see. We've got yes. I think we should get the flying units out of the way, but let's start with your favorite.
Yes. So
time to talk about wyverns.
Wyverns are what you expect. They're on flying units, so they're weak to bows and wind, but they're also very good because they're bulky. They can move around a lot, and they usually use axes. However, unlike the problem with fighters, they actually have good skill.
And they do not mess around.
You think,
let me tell you.
A wyvern rider? He should be easy. Fuck that, he's gonna kill you.
Yeah. Basically, it's kind of why hitting them with a bow or wind magic is usually gonna be your savior at times.
Wyvern riders,
they do not fuck around.
Wyvern riders hit hard, they're hard to kill. To me, at least, they're kind of like the, mercs of, they're flying mercs, except they use axes. At least to me. They're really good.
It's
and the only downside about wyvern riders is they're really rare in the series. You only usually get
many of them.
You only usually get one or two per each game. Also, I should know that they're often called. There's an archetype called the Minerva archetype, which is essentially a wyvern rider that was a bad guy and is now on your side. Notable examples are Cormac from Sacred Stones. Heath, I think, from Blazing Sword, he's something. Jill and Har from the Telia series, and I think that's actually it.
Yeah, because neither Camilla nor Shershay or Shay or ever your enemies turned allies.
Yeah. Well, no, Camilla is at one point, but that's something else. Okay.
You don't ever recruit her. That's the thing. At least on the Birthright path.
Revelations.
Yeah. No, you actually never fight her on Revelations.
No, you do. You fight her, and then you recruit her at the end of the chapter.
Really? I thought it was.
No.
Okay, I think I'm.
The only siblings in Revelations that I don't think you ever are antagonistic towards is the two youngest ones, Elise and Sakura.
Yeah, but they're little balls of sunshine.
Yeah. Anyway, so what are their advanced forms?
All right, so there's usually a different level of these. Now, if I'm correct, I'm not as familiar with this, but I do know there's some interesting.
I'll explain it first. The most well-known version is the Wyvern Lord. Essentially a stronger Wyvern Rider, and they can also now use lances. The one bad thing about Wyvern Riders is they don't have many really interesting skills. They have stuff like slow burn, which increases which makes them stronger as the fight goes on longer, but there's not much going for them, unfortunately. However, there's also three other versions are different. The second option for Wyvern Riders changes like every game. The first one is Wyvern Knight, essentially a flying paladin. That is what they are. They're a flying paladin that can use lances and swords, because in the GBA games they used lances, not axes. The second is Malignites, which are only in Fates. Essentially,
basically wyverns with tomes.
An undead wyvern. You're riding an undead wyvern and also wielding magic. And they're the only class that can really make use of the bolt axe, which is like Levin's sword, but it's an axe. Using magic over strength.
But
Then we have before I go into what I consider the worst class in the whole series. Yes, I just said that. The third form of Wyvern Riders in Radiant Dawn is Dragon Masters, because in the Telia series, their names are Draco Knight, Draco Lord, and Draco Master, as they're called.
Fair.
And they have a special skill called Stun, which is 4 times damage and stuns the opponent if they're not dead. Also, I should know,
Fun.
in the Telia series, when you get a crit with a Draco Knight, their dragons roar.
That's a nice one. But now, oh boy, I think we know where we're going with this. We're talking about the Griffins, aren't we?
The worst class in the whole fucking series! Griffin Riders! Pegasus Knights and Wyvern Riders can advance from right into them in Awakening. However, they're shit! Wanna know why? Firstly, they're on Griffins. Well, that sounds cool. They're weak to both stuff that the Flyers are weak to, and beasts! And if you say promote, I don't know, any of the Manichetes, then they're also weak to dragon weapons, which we'll go into later. Secondly, they have no good skills! The skills are shit! I remember them!
Yeah.
Thirdly,
actually,
they only use
technically means
axes!
that all of...
They only use axes! That's it! They're shit! They don't work! They're horrible!
If I'm correct, they also are one of the they also are one of the classes that gets axe fare.
Yes! However, it's shit! Their skills are horrible! They have none of their stats are good or bad. They're all just below average. Griffin Riders are shit!
The design is also bad.
They're just riding a griffin that looks like he's not even a griffin, and their outfits look horrible. I have never heard of the Griffin Rider because they're shit.
Besides that, let's talk about my favorite variant of the flying units. The Pegasus Knights.
Okay.
Knights. You calm down while I explain this. The Pegasus Knights are just as flying units riding, of course, the Pegasus. Usually carrying a lance, and they're pretty agile bit of people with some somewhat alright attack power.
In exchange, they're squishy and have low HP.
Yeah. However, they also have a bit of resistance to magic, interestingly enough.
I mean, only talking about wind magic.
Yeah, but that's its own thing. So yeah, a bit of a resistance to magic, which is always great.
Compared to Wyvern Riders, who unfortunately have really low resistances.
Now that's just the simple stuff. Simple stuff, especially considering their skills. But now we have the personal stuff, which we get to the promotions. Okay, now I don't know all the promotions, but I at least know the stuff from Awakening. So let's just start with the, if I'm correct, that goes into
Falcon Knight.
Falcon Knight?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yep. Essentially, a better Pegasus Knight that for some reason their horse got a horn. In some games, they also In most games, actually, they can also heal.
Indeed.
Fairly good class.
Yes, and they're pretty formidable on their own. Now the secondary classes.
Wait, before we forget, the advanced version of a Falcon Knight is a Seraph Knight in Radiant Dawn. They have the same skill as Draco Masters, Stun, and they're essentially just bare Falcon Knights.
Huzzah!
So, moving on.
Nothing. Now we're on to the secondary upgrades.
One of them is Kintry Knight, and another is Wyvern Knight from other games.
Yes, and then for Awakening, okay, we have a building block for broken in terms. We have the Dark Flyer.
Essentially,
the Dark Flyer.
It's essentially what you would expect. It's a it's a Pegasus Knight that can use tomes.
And it definitely services that type well.
However, its claim to fame is its level 15 skill, Gale Force.
What does Gale Force do, you might ask? Well, if you happen to kill an enemy, you can and move again.
This is only on your turn, by the way. But yeah, it's broken. It's broken. I've seen
it's a great skill.
However, it's a great skill, but it's not a be-all end-all skill because I've been Awakening plenty times without that skill. But it's still really broken.
You can. Yeah, it's good, but it's not the be-all end-all skill you need to win the game on like harder difficulties. It's not the it's basically just that skill that you can get that helps a lot, but you can live without it.
Okay, so we're almost done with most of the normal classes.
However, we're getting to technically my second favorite class.
We have two non-unique classes left. They are not really hard to get, like say the pirate.
Let's talk about the thief.
A class that both of us absolutely adore. So
mainly for the fact that its characters have never let us down.
So in battle, they're okay. They don't do a lot of damage. They're speedy, kind of squishy. However, they're like thieves in most games. Their strengths do not lie in battle. It lies in
thievery.
You see, in
basically unlocking doors and chests.
In previous games, like the GBA series, you need a lockpick to unlock chests and doors. Thieves could use those. And chests have treasure. And as a treasure,
most of the time, really good things.
And as a treasure hunter, I love thieves so much, especially in the later games. Because in later games, thieves got a skill called Loctite, which essentially you can open a door or chest just naturally. It's really good.
Yep. And usually the thief classes, with the characters, are usually probably some of my favorites.
But we should
mainly
also know,
for two reasons.
We should also know that thieves, there's two things. There's two archetypes that one also goes into other classes a bit. The first one is thieves. I don't actually remember the archetype for this, but thieves can often be you have to recruit them. Like
talk to them with a certain people. Like for instance, Gaius
in Awakening,
Gaius, the sweet-toothed pickpocket,
who is I think the only thief you get naturally, and he's good actually. There's a couple other options, like Volk from the Tellius series, and Legalt in Blazing Sword.
Yes, Legalt, the Hurricane.
Now, thieves have three class options to promote into. Although in some games, thieves can't promote. Sadness.
Sadness.
So,
But, however, let's at least talk about the main one. The big one. Which I think changes depending on... I think the name changes a lot, but let's talk Assassin.
no, it stays the same. Assassins are what you expect. They are
Very deadly.
They're kind of squishy, yes, but they're assassins. They have an increased crit rate. And
let me tell you,
one of the most well-known assassins in all of Fire Emblem is Jafar. Blazing Sword.
Oh boy, have you ever? Oh boy, there is kind of a reason why he is given the title Angel of Death.
Essentially, assassins will kill everything. And in later games, they have a skill called Lethality. What is that, you ask? Well, it has a skill divided by 4% chance of instantly killing the enemy. It doesn't matter what they are, who they are, or even if they're a boss, or even the final boss, they will die!
At the very least, and there's also an added visual bonus effect there's an added visual bonus effect in Awakening and Fates, and also, if I'm correct, Echoes now. Where the screen, if you land lethality, the screen will go pure red, or red, at least the entire area around you. However, the characters will turn into black silhouettes.
And there'll be black blood splatters. It's essentially
it's
assassinate.
Fucking amazing.
You know the skill assassinate from Assassin's Creed? That's what lethality is.
Yeah, only instead of talking to them in their death, you kind of send them flying.
Yeah. So there are two other classes for thieves. The first one is Rogue, essentially a better thief. They hit harder, but they still could only use knives in some games, or swords. And they're only in a few games, but they're essentially just a better thief. And their advanced form, is only redone, is Whisper. Essentially, an even better rogue. Although Whispers are kind of because you only get two, one being Soth, the Jagan. And their master skill is Bane. Guess what Bane is?
Hit me.
It's lethality, but instead of being reduced to no HP, they're reduced to 1 HP.
Well, gives the opponent one last chance to.
Hey.
Okay, that is still bugging me.
Hey, at least Volk from the Telia series becomes an assassin with lethality.
Yeah, that's one thing.
So, the last class that these can become is Trickster, which are...
Tricksters are surprisingly the actual weird definition of jack of all trades, but in the strangest possible way. What do I mean by this? Well, okay, so the main basis of Trickster is that they're the jack of all trades while still having some of their original thief elements, such as still being able to have some good speed and skill.
And swords.
But now with this, they gain some good They gain some magic, and the ability to heal.
They also get a skill called Lucky 7, which essentially increase movement and avoid for the first 7 turns.
It always helps.
Tricksters are good, and if you have one, good on you. But due to the fact they're only an Awakening, and the only thief you get next besides Anna, who is already a Trickster, is Gaius.
And
he's a better assassin.
Gangrel. And you can't forget about Gangrel. But the problem is that Gangrel literally breaks the whole jack of all trades thing, and technically becomes the jester of all trades. Literally, to give an idea of what I mean by that is he technically can do them. It's just he does them poorly.
He also breaks canon. Because we killed him.
Yeah, he's just...
Anyway, so
Is a thing.
moving on to the last normal class game, Troubadours.
Oh yes, the mounted clerics.
Yeah, essentially mounted clerics. Same problems as clerics, and they can evolve into bishops to recall, or sages, and also Valkyries, Valkyries, which are essentially mounted sages.
As per usual, it's fine, but it could definitely be better.
Yeah. Oh, also, before I forget this, firstly, there's an archetype called Est, which is you get a tier 1 unit real late game, but their growths are just super good.
The best growths, the suplex growths, the growths you never expect coming from a mile away. Hey, the ones that'll send you flying into space. You hear me, Sonny Jim?
The notable ones are, I think, Sophia from Binding Blade, Nino from Blazing Sword. I can't remember any others, actually.
I think...
Essentially, they're the opposite
Tiki?
of...
Tiki? Does she count?
No, she doesn't. Tiki's a Tiki archetype.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Essentially, S are the opposite of Dragons. They're late game, but have super good growths. And are often real level. Anyway. Moving on to the more special classes.
Oh boy. Okay, where do we really start with this? Because there's like a lot we could start with. We could either start with the Manichetes,
Lord.
the Beastkin, or
Lord.
The Lords. Alright. Okay, so the Lords have multiple variations. This has been sort of a thing since day one. Hey, one with them.
To explain simply put, Lords are often the main character of the game. They are usually about 8% of the time, they're sword-based foot soldiers. However, there are
with a legendary sword,
like Falchion, Marthgrom,
or Ragnell.
Well, no, Ike is really, Ike is a lord. Fair. Oh, I should also know, in Radiant Dawn, Ike has a special third class called Vanguard, which is essentially a better lord class. So there are two notable exceptions to the whole sword lord. That being Hector and Ephraim. Hector is the third lord in Blazing Sword, and he uses axes.
And he is the most amazing.
Yes, he is. Well, Ephraim is the second lord in Sacred Stones, and he uses lances. And I've noted that I should note this. Both of them are leagues better than any of the other lords because they're not stuck with swords.
Yeah, and their personalities are also, a
lot better. Because unfortunately,
to
put it bluntly, lords' personalities, I know we're going into personalities, but this is special. Lords are often selfless and perfect, which is annoying.
Yeah.
Also, we should know
either that or dumbasses.
Yeah.
We'll get into dumbasses when we get to Corrin.
Yeah. That's gonna be for another time, because I mean, unless I can keep going for actually no, I can probably go for a long time at this rate. Anyway, the lords are all, since they're the main character, except for Faith for whatever reason, lords are... You have to bring them, and if they die, it's game over instantly. Oh,
even in Awakening, where... even in Awakening, if you play on casual mode, if they die, it's over.
Yeah.
But that also applies to Robin.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to later.
And I should also note, Alm in Echoes and Gaiden, and also in to a degree Celica, Celica is essentially a magic and sword wielding lord, and while all his classes are fighter and later hero, he's neither. He starts off as essentially a sword wielding, as essentially a lord class, then the advanced form of great lord. The only reason it's called fighter and hero is because Echoes is weird because it's the remake of the Black Sheep of the series.
And it definitely shows.
Yeah, anyway, so the advanced forms of lords, the general catch-all term is Great Lord.
And that is applied a lot.
There are a few exceptions such as Night Lord and Blade Lord for Elwood and Lyn in Blazing Sword. And something else I think and I think Ephraim and Erica have different ones, but I don't remember. But Great Lord, essentially, think that character, but stronger. That's it.
Yeah.
And since a lord in each game is different every single time, they are never the same.
There's always usually something different.
Because I don't know about the past games. Oh wait, Roy also has Master Lord, but Roy is special because he doesn't promote until like the end of the game for some stupid reason.
Roy's our boy. What treachery.
Yeah. Anyway, lords in most games they do get another weapon when they promote. I'll explain all the ones I know personally. Although I don't think Marth ever does promote. If he does, correct me, but if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure. Anyway. Binding Blade, still only swords. Blazing Sword. Ephraim, Elwood, my bad, oops. Elwood gets a horse and lances. Lyn is still footlock, but gets bows. Well, Hector, he gets swords, but why would you use swords when you have axes on him?
Yeah, I mean...
And, Ephraim...
Use the fucking destruction axe that you were given.
Yeah. Anyway, and Sacred Stones... I remember now. Ephraim and Erica both promote into horse, into mounted lords, and Erica starts with swords, and Ephraim with lances, and when they promote, they both get swords and lances. That's it.
That would explain. That actually does explain why. That actually explains why Erica has another version on horseback. Also explains Ephraim's horseback variant.
Yep, it's their advanced forms. Ike, when he promotes into a lord, he doesn't change. He just gets stronger. For Awakening, Crom and Lucina, Lucina is also a lord. Why would you not just use fucking Fulchin? They both also get access to lances and Aether. Aether is essentially the Lord skill. It's Soul and Luna.
Fused together into one giant beefcake of a skill.
Essentially, you hit first hit is Luna, so you negate defense. Second hit is Soul, and you get half your health back. That skill is used by Ike, because Aether is essentially Ike's skill, Crom and Lucina. And yeah, both Crom and Lucina get access to lances. Now, I'm gonna go into Corrin for a bit here, because while Corrin's personality sucks, in gameplay they're actually fucking broken.
Yep.
Because they start off with swords, unique sword Yato, and dragon stones, which I'll get into when we get into Monakedes. And then when they advance in Conquest, they become Nor Noble, and Birth they become Hoshido Noble, and they can choose either in Revelations. Hoshido Noble is a more balanced version that can use also heal, while Nor Noble is a more offensive version that can use magic. That's it. Also,
and they also get the Yato.
Yeah. Also, I should note, in Echoes does also give you access to bows if you want to give him a bow. But I mean, really, Why aren't you using the royal sword?
Yeah, just use the royal sword, man.
Or
I mean,
you know, the fucking
don't be a
falchion.
Tobin.
Oh, dude, Tobin actually good. Kind of, not really.
Tobin's great. It's just the meme of. It's just I have to go with the meme of
okay,
shut
I
up,
know.
Tobin.
Anyway, what should we do next? Dancers and bards?
Well, we've got to go into the special classes, and I think probably there would be the best start because at least that's simple.
Okay, so essentially, dancers, bards, songstress, whatever that class, they will sing or dance for you to another unit, and they'll give them another turn. In most cases, if a dancer or a bard gets in attack range, they're already dead. Because their defenses are, because their stats are none.
Yeah, that's kind of the case.
Dancers and bards should not be seeing combat. Ever.
Yeah.
Although there are a couple cases, like, I think Silva might get a sword, I'm not sure. And Azura is the only notable exception in the whole problem trait, because Azura, as a songstress, has actually really good stat growth, and she gets lances. Because here's the thing, in almost every game except for that game, dancers and bards can't attack. Although Olivia in Awakening, who uses swords,
she becomes the most terrifying bringer of doom.
You reclass her into a Myrmidon, get her up to Swordmaster, get her sword fair, and by the time you get back to Dancer, she will kill everything. Also, I should note that these special classes like Dancer and Bard do get a lot more levels because they can't promote.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least,
they can't promote into an XL dancer level here.
Except for warriors, but that's something else. I should also note that while dancers and bards, the class that lets you move into the unit again, because remember, in this game, units move once and then they can't move again. They at least have good speed and skill, so they're good at dodging if they do get within enemy range. But you should not have them in enemy range in the first place.
Yeah, not the smartest idea.
If you're putting them
really the smartest idea.
If you're putting them in enemy range, you have fucked up, son. Anyway, before we get into what I consider to be kind of the most unique class, let's talk about pirates.
Oh boy.
Pirates are essentially fighters that can walk on water.
You might ask how, but to that we give you a simple answer. Trust us, just it's better if you don't try to.
There's also another version called Brigand, which essentially it is in almost every single game an enemy only class that is essentially a pirate but can't go on water and can go across mountains. Pirate and barbarian / brigand are usually enemy only classes. The only time you can ever have an ally brigand is Gonzalez in Binding Blade, and if you reclass someone in Awakening. And pirates, I think the only time you can ever have a pirate is in Shadow Dragon, Sacred Stones. If you reclass the trainee into a pirate, and yeah, that's it. Essentially, pirates and brigands are just enemy-only axe users. However, their promoted form is something that a lot of classes can actually advance into, which is called berserkers. Why they do, you ask? Well, think an unholy fusion between how fighters have loads of HP and use axes, and how sword masters have super high crit. Berserkers, often at max level, are going to have like 60 something HP, can do huge tons of damage, and if you put them with a killing axe, you will see literal waves of enemies fall in your wake.
It is beautiful.
The drawback is they have almost no defenses. They're essentially they're essentially a high risk, high reward class, but they're good.
They are the glass. They are
Cannons.
the glass
Of
They
cannons.
are the glass.
And the
They
cannon.
are the glassiest of cannons.
But they will cannon the shit out anything that gets in their way.
It is indeed a beautiful thing.
If you see them hitting an enemy, especially with the killing axe, chances are the enemy's already dead.
Yeah, they ain't living.
Nope.
they dead. They dead. They dead
Now-
Reno. They dead as dirt.
I'm gonna note something before we go into the like the last classes I think I know of. Shaman is just another name for dark mage, and light mages are really rare, as I think they're only in the GVA games and Radiant Dawn. They use light magic, which is essentially low power but good accuracy. And the only real notable light mages, which we're going into bishops, are Arthur from Sacred Stones, Sacred Stones, Lucius from Blazing Sword, and of course, Micaiah from Radiant Dawn. Also, since Micaiah is essentially the lord of that game, instead of becoming a bishop, she goes light mage, light sage, and then light priestess. Oh fuck! I almost forgot. The advanced form of sages and the light priestess. Advanced form of sages is called arc sages, and both light priestess and arc sages have the special skill flare, which is essentially negating enemy resistance and does like 4 times damage, while Micaiah's master skill is called Corona, which is essentially a recolored flare. I almost forgot. Now, let me check my notes to make sure that. Let me make sure we didn't forget any classes. Okay.
Go ahead, Head. I'm still being sad over here that I haven't gotten a single thing. It's so fucking long.
Okay. So.
I was playing Grand Order while you were doing some explanationing.
Great, thanks. Anyway, the
To be fair, when I have nothing to say.
Class is.
Oh boy, we're on the beast class section. We're on the beast class section, which technically has a lot of different variants, but this mainly goes into just.
I will name off the first bit. We have the Tagil, the Kitsune, the Wolfskin, and the Lagoos, which are all shapeshifters that can transform into beasts. Now here's the thing: there are some classes that don't use normal weapons, but instead use stones. In most cases, it's something called a beast stone. I will explain this to start. So, Tagils and Wolfskins, such as Kitsune, use stones. Essentially, they transform into beasts. Well, Lagoos have a transform gauge. Once the transform gauge reaches full, they can transform. What do they transform into? Well, it depends on the person. For beast tribe Lagoos, they transform into either tigers or cats. Yes, you heard me right. Tigers or cats. Big.
For the more.
Now I'm gonna have to
more noble side.
Also, some can transform into lions. Cats are fast and skilly, but have low attack power. Tigers are buff and bulky, but are slow, while lions are masters of all. Tagils! This is a class unique to Pan and her son Yarn. They become giant rabbits.
Giant death rabbits.
That's
Which, if you ever wanted to have a very descriptive variant of Monty Python's rabbit, if you want it to be more obviously deadly, well, that's exactly what the Togwell are.
And then Kitsune and Wolfskin. Kitsune are unique to Birthright and Revelations. Wolfskin are unique to Conquest and Revelations. Kitsune are they're essentially remakes of cats and tigers. Kitsune are speedy and quick, and they promote into Ninetales, which is essentially a stronger version of Kitsune. Wolfskin are tigers, and they're strong, but I actually find Wolfskin be better because they can also be fast.
They still hit like a dump truck.
And they promote into Wolfsingers, stronger forms of that. Kitsune is a unique class for Keaton and his daughter Selkie. Kate and his daughter Selkie. Ugh. While Wolfskin is a unique class for Keaton and his daughter Ophelia.
Yeah. Not Ophelia, Valoria.
Valoria, I'm sorry. Valoria, I'm sorry. I actually actually my daughter for a couple playthroughs. I'm sorry, Valoria. He's gonna kill me later.
The case.
And then Bird Tribe Lagoons.
Let me tell you a bit of a thing about the wolf skin. You might think they turn into werewolves.
No.
Well, kind of. They do turn into somewhat wolf-like with at least their hands, somewhat, but they look more like a giant yeti.
Yeah, they're essentially giant bipedal yetis that are darks that have a horn. Like, I don't even know how they. It's really hard to explain what they look like, so look it up.
They're pretty amazing, though. I give credit. The design is ridiculous, but I love it.
Yeah, and even in their human forms, they still look cool. Because Kate and Selkie have tails, while Keen and Valoria also have really nice looking hair and clothes.
Yeah, it's
good.
The designs are pretty
Character
great.
designs are good, is what we're trying to say.
Sometimes. I mean, I don't think I'm over the beginning stages of All Might. With Arthur. Let's never talk about bootleg All Might.
Anyway, Bird Tribe Lagoos. I should note that Lagoos are unique to the Tellius series. Bird Tribe Lagoos are flying Lagoos. There are ravens, which are speedy and dodgy, and hawks, which are strong and buff. And then we get to the dragons.
Oh boy, the Manakete!
First note. There's Dragon Tribe Lagoos. They're rare. They're essentially really big and hard to kill. That's all you need to know. They are buff, they are strong, they are late game, and they take fucking forever to kill.
They are.
Okay, Manakenes. Manakenes have been in almost every single game. Usually. Mostly. Kind of. Instead of using beast stones, they use dragon stones, which is what you expect. Now, I can actually name, I think, of all the Manakeres. There's Tiki from Mars series and Awakening. There is Myrrh from Sacred Stones. Faye from Binding Blade. Blazing Sword has. Give me a second here. What's her fucking name? Can you help me?
Ninian.
Thank you. No, not Ninian.
No, Ninian is correct. She's the one who married Eliwood. At least canonically.
The actual Manakete in the game. Is there one?
Technically, she is.
No, wait. I thought there was a Manakete in that. Wait, what? No, I'm trying to remember. Shit, I can't remember.
Let me check. I got this.
I'm already writing it up.
Well, better to check now than later. Let's check the Blazing Blade.
Blazing Sword.
Both work. Anyway.
Manakete, let me check. Nope, just Faye. Never mind. Thought Blazing Blade had one. Moving on.
No, Blazing Blade should technically have one. I mean, Ninian counts, doesn't she?
Playable. It turns into a dragon. I'm talking about playable. Ninian is cutscene only dragon.
Weird.
Niles, technically Niles too.
Okay, wait. I need to.
And
no, she's playable apparently.
What?
Well, okay, she's playable, but she's probably just a. Let me try to confirm this. Is she just a dancer? Yeah, she's just a dancer. Okay, that's better.
Technically, the dancer and bard of Blazing Sword and Ninian are technically dragons, Manichetes, but
Yeah.
Blazing Sword is weird about that. And the other two, one of Manichetes, are Naui and her daughter Na from Awakening, and Corrin. Yep, Corrin is a dragon, and so is their daughter Kana, who is adorable. Kana is adorable, and you cannot say otherwise because Kana is adorable.
She's adorable. She's adorable, but
both.
like, both are adorable. Yes, they're the sweetest. It is the cinnamon buns, but here's the problem: the Morgans are better.
Fair. Sort of. Anyway.
Like.
Now we should explain. Let's explain the Manichetes.
Fine.
Manichetes are essentially they're little girls, minus Tiki in Awakening, who is, oh my god, she looks hot. I'm not gonna lie, Tiki has been Awakening Tiki has been a crush for a long time of mine.
Can't really blame you. Amy, I mean, that voice also adds to it.
Yes. Anyway, Manichetes are, almost all the time, little girls that can transform into dragons. So, in Shadow Dragon and all other forms of that, Tiki, young Tiki, little Tiki, who is a normal little muffin that I want to hug,
literally calls Marth Marmar.
Stop! That transforms into a dragon. Manichetes are really strong, but in most games, except for Awakening and Fates, they have a limited amount of uses, and once their Dragon Stone runs out, no more fighting for them at all, ever. In Binding Blade, Faye is a very excitable girl with purple hair who becomes the divine chicken.
We're not going to talk about that.
She becomes the divine chicken.
We're not going to talk about how that works because she's technically still a dragon.
She is the divine. Her nickname in forms is the divine chicken.
Look, divine chicken is one thing, but apparently it's still considered a dragon.
That makes no sense. She's a giant fluffy chicken.
I don't think they're gonna create a different class, different type specifically dedicated to just chickens.
Fine. Anyway, Myrrh in Sacred Stones becomes a big ass dragon, like Western dragon. Because
terrifying.
Myrrh is a shy, adorable little purple-haired girl with dragon wings. When she transforms, she becomes probably the most out of all the Manichetes, her dragon form looks the most akin to a Western dragon. It's a big scaly dragon, takes up most of her spot, and has wings and breathes fire.
Yeah, Myrrh kind of goes from like sweet and innocent to sweet to you go from aw to ah.
Essentially, first time I saw that, I was like, oh, she's flying, what you gonna do? Oh my god, you are big! Oh my god, that dude is dead! Oh my god, okay, I love you. I went to Myrrh, I'm hugging you. And then I just hug her for the rest of the chapter, even when she transformed. I'm sorry, but
okay. That's a visual of just the tactician hugging to the giant dragon Myrrh while she's lighting people on fire.
Well, that's what I did.
Well, besides that, there's also Noe, who is...
Green-haired girl who is wearing far too little. That becomes something that looks kind of like the what's that thing? What is that stupid thing called? The seahorse. What's the thing called? King seahorse.
I have no idea.
There's a seahorse that looks like it's made of seaweed, and that's what Now We Na and Tiki's dragon forms are based on.
Yeah, they definitely kind of look like that. You can still tell they're dragons, it's just they look really crystalline and shiny.
Also, their dragon breath and awakening is balls of crystal stuff.
Yep, it's pretty. It's pretty. We can give it that. It's very pretty. It's
also strong.
Yeah.
I should note that Medicaid also, and in Fates, Corn becomes a water dragon thing. I'm not sure how to explain how they look.
It's a deer. It's a fucking deer dragon.
Fair. Yeah, it looks like a deer, and they don't really have a face.
Yeah, it's more like... Honestly, it's kind of a reason why one of Corrin's abilities literally just has them get the dragon head thing. It's technically just like a helmet.
Yeah, really, Corrin has a special skill called Dragon Fang, which their skill set in Smash is essentially nothing but Dragon Fang. Because when they use it, they get the dragon head as like a helmet, and their arm becomes a lance thing and then a mouth. And that's essentially
that shoots a fucking Hadouken.
Like, Corrin in Smash, it's essentially they're just using the Dragon Fang ability to the max.
Yeah,
and
because really, what else are you going to use for Corrin?
Also, I should note, Manichedes live a long time. You know,
they
now,
also have sometimes no concept of age.
To explain, why not? Now, how old do you think she looks?
Well, she's about on the level of like 10.
In reality, she's 1,000 years old.
This is why she's a marriage option in Awakening, folks.
Yep.
And let me tell you, it is still very weird.
She's a legal lolly.
You're still getting the FBI watch list on you. It's just
I know
she is technically legal.
That's why I've never married her. Now, Faye and Mur, I'm not sure how old those two are. Faye is...
You really don't know. I mean, to be honest, like they could be like a lot of years older, but they really do still act like kids with a reason. I think they just haven't fully developed yet.
I think it's what it is. Is it like a fully developed Manakete like Bantu from the Mars series? He's like 10,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an old dude. The only
Back in my day, we took care of whippersnappers like you.
The only Manaketes and dragons that aren't at least 100 years old. I'm also putting in Dragon Tribe Lagoos into that for various reasons. Because, Dragon State, the King of Goldoa, Dragon Country, is about 1,000 years old. Lagoos, while they're not as long as Manaketes, they're still... Dragon Tribe Lagoos live a long time. But... The only dragons that are not at least 100 years old are Corrin and Kana for obvious reasons, and Na, because Na is like actually 12 or 14.
Yeah. At the very least.
The only really adult Manakete there is Tiki in Awakening, who is sexy. She's amazing.
Yeah, but she's technically been alive now for a while. She's just taken a lot of naps.
To note, in Marth's original series, Tiki was a young girl. It has now been 2,000 years by Awakening's time, and she is just now becoming a hot 20-year-old.
Yep.
We should know.
Tell you,
We should know.
That British accent is perfect.
Yes, it is. We should know. Tiki has been asleep from about the time that Marth passed, about a little before Marth passed on, to when she gets woken up in Awakening. She's been asleep that whole time.
It's a fun thing, I tell you what.
I'm not kidding. She took a 2,000-year nap. Oh god, now I'm remembering I'm still remembering.
Go on.
There was a picture where Tiki woke up and she was still in her clothes when she was young.
Oh.
And we see Sayori in the distance running towards her with clothes she's currently wearing in Awakening.
Okay, that's adorable.
I'm just like, but it's just like Tiki looks like she's about to, we see it from kind of like over the shoulder, kind of like we see the left half of her from behind, sort of. It's hard to explain it, but she looks like her chest is about to break her clothes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna note, before Awakening, the series was mostly
not
fairly
too fan servicey.
Awakening and especially Fates. Ugh. Turned up the fan service.
Yeah, I mean, to point out, I mean, unlike with Noe and Nah, the problem about dating, about Fates is that when you get into the FBI watch list, you don't really have an excuse. When talking about Sakura or Elise. Okay, maybe Sakura because she at least looks actually old enough.
Actually, Dravy?
I know they're legal.
Elise is actually 21.
I know, but she does not look it.
Or act it?
Not even fucking close to acting it.
I think it's actually 18. My bad.
Something around there.
Now here's the thing. I am not going to marry either of them. I am going to spoil them.
Never a bad thing.
To bring up a meme, you protect lollies. Protect. Do not penetrate.
I'm fine. Without laughing.
As someone who is extremely weak to cute things, if I see a small child in media or in real life, I am probably going to melt and spoil them silly.
Never a bad thing.
I'm not kidding. If somebody made me babysit their kid, I'd probably spoil them. It's why no one gets me for a babysitter. Because I'm not a good one.
Never a bad.
Anyway.
Again.
Never
a bad thing.
Are there any other classes we're forgetting? Besides enemy only.
Not that I know of.
I mean, unless there's a unique class.
I mean, the only one that counts is Allheart, since he's recruitable and he has the Conqueror skill. Like, he's a Conqueror fucking class.
Let's just say this. Allheart's an arc villain in Awakening, and his class Conqueror is essentially a stronger Great Knight. That's essentially it.
Yeah.
That nullifies the effect of beast codes and such. That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we spent about an hour and a half to 2 hours talking about classes. What next?
And, I think we've talked about all gameplay things besides skills.
Well, skills is that's something that it would take hours to explain.
Yeah, so I think we can actually talk about characters and story.
Okay, I've finally gotten on the menu, and I'm actually going to finally fucking play the game I'm playing. So, oops.
Well. Hey!
Sorry, if you want to actually see me play games, I'm sorry. I had to talk, and Draven.
What?
Guess what the time says on my counter?
Go on.
3 hours and 4 seconds.
Whoops.
I guess I'll play the game more. We'll talk more about Fire Emblem next time. Probably tomorrow, or if I'm doing up to it, maybe later today. Probably not. No. Can you tell we're massive Fire Emblem fans?
Can you tell we may have done some problem? Can you, you know, I don't.
Both of us don't really know how to yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's noon where I am now. Oops.
Well, it's almost 2 where I am now.
Well, now you know where we live, kind of.
Uh-huh.
Draven?
Yeah?
Next time, perhaps we should have a timer.
Perhaps we... This
is, for the first time in streaming record, I don't know what to say.
We may have fucked up.
No, we just went onto a Fire Emblem rant for 3 hours.
To be fair, I think you should really just... I think, if possible, you should just change the name of the stream. Aim to just, like, us to, like, we accidentally talked about Fire Emblem for 3 hours.
I think when I eventually get to this, because I haven't updated any of my stream names for like 3 months, I think I'll just name this Guardian Rage Burst Fire Emblem Edition Part 1. Because you know
Draven for the Devil May Cry series.
You know that we're gonna have a part 2 to this eventually.
Oh yeah, it's where we're gonna go on a rant about about stories and such
and characters.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I should probably prepare a list of favorites just in case.
Ah, fuck me too. Draven? 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 Draven! I think we fucked up.
Oh, we most certainly did.
Oops. Oh no.
What exactly? Okay. What did you? I feel like you just found something else out.
I mean, oh god.
We have fucked up.
Oh dear lord. Wait, didn't we start this stream with a prayer to Roman?
We did! And we started this with a prayer to Roman, and then we went into Fire Emblem, and then we didn't shut up about Fire Emblem.
I think, if I'm correct, I think I did like 30 minutes of gameplay this time around.
Woo!
And
I mean, if you've got any editing skills, I'd recommend starting to put some kind of image on screen.
And if I just clocked in 184 hours. Draven, I can't put images on the stream. I'm not that good a programmer. Marty, are you a programmer?
Fair enough.
I don't have editing software. I don't know how to use editing software, actually. Otherwise,
we fucked up.
Because here's the thing. At one point in in a Star Ocean stream, I had to leave for 40 minutes. I still, to this day, don't know how to cut out that part. Just, oh god. How did we lose track of time this badly?
It's because we're the fucking geniuses. We're actual fucking geniuses. That's what we are.
Wanna know what the sad part is?
What?
A few days ago, I watched a 2.5-hour spiel on the entire history of Fire Emblem. It took us that long to talk about all the classes.
I mean, to be fair, it could be worse. It could be fucking worse, honestly.
How?
I mean, you know, I honestly am trying to figure that out, because, like, there have been, like, what are, like, the level of worst rants you can go on? Actually, you know what? I'd honestly, I was about to say, maybe, like, an entire rant on Omicron and David Cage's games in general.
You know,
but, to be fair, someone's already done that.
I think the only rant that could have lasted this long for me is Final Fantasy.
Oh boy, honestly, the surprising thing is, despite my sort of love for the series, at least with some of its characters, I have barely played Final Fantasy.
Yeah, here's the sad part. I know. Oh god, we're gonna rant. The only Final Fantasy games I've played is the games on the DS and 15.
Well, I can quote.
I still haven't fucking watched Final Fantasy 12.
Okay, I can say this with certainty. I haven't, honestly, I haven't beaten most things. Like, I can say this with certainty. I've played a little bit of Final Fantasy X, and I did not get past the Tidus laugh.
Oh, you know what's sad?
I played a little bit of 7.
You wanna know how I originally decided to start streaming?
Go on.
I got there to stream when my friend Project Shion was doing a Final Fantasy 12 stream, and I decided to start my own streaming my own streaming career.
How lovely!
And I haven't even seen any of 12.
I mean, I can. It's about fine.
Still, it just here's the fact that we just talked about Fire Emblem for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's I mean, to be fair, it could be a little bit. I think really the level of worse it can get. Like, I mean, it doesn't. Like, again, I think just on a level, at the very least, we didn't go on a story rant today, because then we would have been here probably for a 4-hour time span.
Oh god, oh no!
I can't wait for when we actually do something like try to explain the Blaze Blue plot.
We won't.
We're gonna be fucked.
We won't, cause I don't know the plot of Blaze Blue.
I do.
No.
I have to explain it in the most simple way possible.
No! I'm ending this stream before it gets worse. Thank you all for very much watching. This has been Roxy Shade and Riverville. Talk about it, Violent. Goodbye.